Streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
A very good afternoon to you as we welcome you on into Rochester's only local sports talk show. You found the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us and listening along at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the Fan Rochester, and the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can even watch our stream every afternoon from 3 until 6 as we stream live on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at the Fan Rochester. I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia.
You know, you and I just doing their thing on Mother's Day, just eating and just you working. How are you, buddy?
Epic weekend.
Yeah.
Epic weekend in the Flower City. Was it not? I mean, like, for all of the bitching and complaining that I do about the weather, especially, you know, in the winter when it's gray and cold and, you know, you have fake spring mixed in there, man, you could not find that was the weekend where you can get out, you can get after it, you can do all the things that you haven't been able to do, and it just so happened to fall on Mother's Day when you can pay tribute to the loved ones in your life and spend some time with the family and friends. Man, epic weekend. Absolutely epic.
Yeah, and finally I feel like the wait is over here. Like, we're in a pattern, and I'll credit Thad Brown for coming up with this nugget that the 13-day layoff is tied for the biggest in professional sports history for the Rochester Americans in any sport.
Wow.
Right? Like, name me something that would be bigger. Like, why would you take 2 weeks off waiting for the next series? Well, finally we get that going on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, we have the NFL schedule release, and we're going to have some morsels along the way. We got one for sure this morning. So, Danger, finally, I feel like, all right, the wait is over. Spring is here. Let's get the schedule. Let's get the Amerks going.
You know how I feel like the wait is over and spring is here? The garage is set up. The projector is up in the garage. I'll watch Knicks tonight outside in the Italian living room on the projector. Come on.
Did you get that power wash done on Friday, or did you do it on Saturday?
See, Gene, you know what, my friend? I'll give you credit. You were the fire under my ass that I absolutely needed going into the weekend. And you said, hey, why not mow the lawn on Friday night? And I'm like, Gino, I think you're right. Now, ground was pretty soft. We had a lot of rain last week. Ground was still pretty soft. Wasn't wet, just soft. Friday night, I got the mower. My mower deck has never been lifted as high as it was on Friday, and it was still a bear to get through. Got through it on Friday, Gino. Nice. Saturday, committed to the power wash. We all identify the power wash as the most satisfying of household chores, right?
Yeah. Well, my back doesn't agree with that, but yeah, definitely. So
I was getting after the floor with the brush, scrubbing it down with some cleaner, hitting it with the power washer. Floor is immaculate. You could eat off of it. Garage is set up. Everything is ready to go from Saturday, and actually got to enjoy it a little bit yesterday on Mother's Day, which is kind of like my contribution to Mother's Day for Sandy and the girls. Like, here you go. You've got an extra room in the house now that you can just hang out if you want to be outside, especially on a day like today. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's an extra room where you can just hide, basically, and just put on the game tonight.
That's right.
Knicks Celtics. I hope it's better than what we got Saturday afternoon. What a letdown.
I had the projector up by Saturday afternoon, as I predicted to, by the way. I was able to watch the end of it by the time I had it go, and I'm like, yeah, maybe this isn't the game to watch.
Yeah. I say what a letdown. Celtic fans are like, no, that's the way it should be.
Right.
Which, it's funny. Gosh, do we lead with the Celtics Knicks? Because tonight it feels like if the Knicks lose tonight, that's it, even though they won up in Boston. And even though the Celtics, if they lose tonight, I don't want to say that they're done down 3-1 going back home for games 5 and potentially a 7.
It's tight, right? I said last week that the only thing worse than losing 2 games after blowing 20-point leads would be losing a series to that same team. By the way, I'm curious, do you think we have more Knicks fans listening or Celtics fans listening?
Celtics. 100%.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah, it is interesting, but I think there are a lot of Knicks fans that just kind of stealth, right? Like myself included, where it's just been years of mismanagement and owner you don't like, and they haven't won. So you don't see a ton of Knicks gear out there. I think Knicks fans do exist, but Celtic fans, I think there's more of them. Maybe it's because it spans the generations. Like, if you're Gen Z, you just won. If you're a millennial, you won then too, and certainly Xers won, and then, hey, baby boomers, you have all those titles
But
too.
there is a handful of fans that have ties to Boston some way, shape, or form that are Celtics fans or Red Sox fans. Like we know people that are from here, but they're just their allegiance is with some of the Boston sports teams. The Celtics was one I was never able to really figure out, unless like you had family in Boston or you lived in Boston or I don't know, maybe you're Irish. I don't know.
Well, I think the allure of the Red Sox, and if you're a Red Sox fan, generally you're a Celtic fan, right? But if you're a Yankee fan, or does that mean you're automatically a Knicks fan? Like in New York, yes, but here I'm not so sure.
Right.
You can't be the pizza dude. I think it's egregious. Like, he's a Yankee fan and a Patriot fan. No, that's cross-pollination. That's gross.
Why is that bad? I mean, I have friends who I'll use one of my neighbors. You've heard me talk about my neighbors before. I got one neighbor who's a Bucks fan and a fan of the Guardians. Nebraska is his college football team.
Not Giannis's team. That would be Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Guardians. Nebraska's his college football team of choice. Like, just all over the map. And I don't really have a problem with it.
Well, yeah, but Cleveland and Tampa aren't necessarily rivals.
I see. So you're saying New York and Boston is just always a rivalry.
No, let me put it to you a different way, because you had to identify with Philly fans. Could somebody be a fan of the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Giants?
Well, that would be weird.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the Yankees and the Patriots. Like, East Coast cities don't mix. I get people that kind of bounce around.
Yeah, that would be weird. What are your teams? Hey, big Giants fan. Really? Who do you root for in baseball? Yankees or Mets? No, Phillies. Huh? That is weird.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. That's weird. Although, like, at first blush, if you met Pizza Dude and you said, what's your baseball team? And he said Yankees, you'd be like, oh, that makes sense. Southern tier guy, lives in Rochester. He's a Yankee fan. It's the Patriots that I don't understand.
Formative years. Like, you grow up and there's Tom Brady showing up on the scene in 2001, and they have a little bit of a dip, but then they come back. Formative years. I guess I can respect anybody that sticks with a team and they're not flip-flopping throughout life.
Sure. I could have been that with the 49ers because I remember loving Joe Montana and loving the 49ers before 85. I'm talking 6, 7, 8 years old here. And then 85 happened, and I was smitten. That's it. Bear fan for life. But so I guess I understand where you're coming from with the Pizza Dude analogy there. That is weird, but he's true to both of his teams. I guess there's something with that. Got a fun show lined up for you this afternoon, including a conversation with Ryan Talbot covering the Buffalo Bills for NewYorkUpstate.com and the Shout podcast.
Yeah, so we had rookie minicamp over the weekend where, we'll kind of review that. First time to see these guys in person. I think that's kind of your top story, right? Like, okay, here's what these guys look like. And Harrison seems to be kind of this fun-loving guy. It's almost like the 2025 version of Tre'Davious White. You're bringing in a corner with some big playability and has a big personality. So, but beyond that, like, which one of these guys are going to contribute? Also, the schedule here, and we'll get to this in a little bit because we do have an update on this Today Show thingy. We'll talk about that and more with Ryan Talbot, New York Upstate. Shout podcast coming up in the 4 o'clock hour.
PGA Championship Week. Quail Hollow hosting it this weekend. Brian Koziel, the host of Tee to Green and WGR in Buffalo, he'll be stopping by the sports bar here in about 15 minutes.
All right, so Brian, question number 1. Brian, when are we getting this again? We're 8 years out now from 2033. Are they waiting for something? Shouldn't they make an announcement soon?
2029 is what they're waiting for. I don't know. Give us 4 year.
Yeah.
Give us 4 years notice. Well, look, it doesn't seem that long ago that it was here at Oak Hill, and man, what a memory that was, and what a tournament that was.
Speak for yourself. It seems like a long time ago.
No, I don't think.
You don't think so?
I have those memories like tucked away, and they're still very fresh in my mind. They still feel very fresh in my mind.
You know what it is? It's like we're a minor league town with a major league appetite. And when we get that taste with the Buffalo Bills, and we get that taste when you get a major,
Yeah.
it's like, the age-old question. Would you rather have one major every 10 years or a regular stop? No, I'd rather have one major.
Well, Brian may have some answers for us. At minimum, we'll talk to him about this weekend's field and who he likes going into the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. Brian Koziel hosts Tee to Green. You can hear that in the free-to-download Odyssey app and our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGRM Buffalo. He stops by the sports bar here at 325.
And we got time for your calls, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. No, Josh Allen was not on the Today Show, Danger.
What's up?
However, now it's confirmed he's going on Wednesday on the Today Show.
A Wednesday.
This Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. What does this mean? Well, generally speaking, he's not just going on there to talk about the Buffalo Bills or to talk about his fiance. He's on there for a purpose to promote something. And I'm not sure it's about any side deal he may have with a business or anything like that. There's always the quid pro quo. The NFL is putting him out there for a reason on Wednesday, but this is the confusing part is today was the day NBC got to announce their game. That being, hey, it's going to be us here coming up on, against the Cowboys and the Eagles, Thursday Night Football. I've got two theories on why Josh Allen would be on Wednesday. Theory one. And Sal Capaccio brought this up, and he doesn't have any inside knowledge, but he's like, hey, be aware, if it's not Christmas, the NFL has a standalone game on the 27th. Saturday the 27th.
Peacock, right?
Yeah, and so it's going to be Peacock, which is owned by NBC.
Mm-hmm.
So take a little detour here. Bills fans, would you rather have the Bills on Christmas Day, or would you rather have them on as a standalone game on the 27th, but knowing that odds are you maybe don't have Peacock?
Well, the good news is, I did a little digging. Even if you don't have Peacock in your local markets, you will be able to watch the two teams that are playing. NBC will air the game for the two teams playing in that standalone game. I don't know if we in Rochester.
No. Crystal clear. We don't get it. We are not.
I was
going to
say. I was just going to say. I don't know if Rochester falls under that umbrella.
No.
In Buffalo, you do. If it's, but let's say it's Buffalo and the Patriots, and I would imagine in Boston you would get it. New England, Buffalo, yes. Rochester, outside of that market.
We're outside the radius, which this used to drive me nuts back in the day, Danger, because but you're in the TV blackout. TV blackouts don't exist anymore, thank goodness. No,
it's all baseball.
Yeah, this was the game 2 years ago where it was the Bills and the Chargers on Peacock. And I remember this because we did a
we were
event.
At Bill Gray's.
Yeah, we were at Bill Gray's, and it was packed. It was great. And then getting really and then let me listen to the final few minutes on CMF on the way. And like literally, I get home before the game was over, and I'm like, oh wow, I guess got to go get the radio out here and do that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of cool.
That's your first theory.
My first theory. Second theory is, how does Netflix get to announce their games?
Oh, so you think he could maybe be announcing the games for Netflix on NBC?
Right. If Netflix wants to do their announcement, how would they go about it? Just strictly social media, or?
Allen just signed a deal, not with Netflix, but with a production company that I think does a lot of work with Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe there's a connection there. That would make sense. You don't think there's any chance he's there to announce the first Sunday night game of the season?
That could be it, too.
Theory 3.
Well, did we get a definitive on this? Because that Sunday night game, we discussed this. Like, oh, wait, if Josh Allen's going on the Today Show, he's there to announce the Sunday night game. Well, we don't know who's playing on Sunday Night Football in Week 1.
Right.
Still could be the Bills. Are we crossing the Chiefs off the list?
I think so. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that it's only been kind of reported. I think Front Office Sports reported that the Chargers and the Chiefs would be the Friday night Brazil game in Week 1. And a lot of people kind of scratch their head at that and be like, what? Why would the Chargers and Chiefs why would they do a divisional game to start Week 1 in Brazil? That doesn't make any sense. And the reality is there's a couple of things, I think, when I hear that rumor, which we'll probably find out. I think tomorrow morning they announce the Brazil game for sure. So we'll know for sure tomorrow morning who the Chargers opponent will be in Brazil. But think about it if you're the Chargers. You have the ability to block. You can protect a handful of home games from being moved internationally, and the Chargers, I think wisely, did not protect the Chiefs.
Because SoFi Stadium turns into a Chiefs game?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much
Yeah.
so. So they would rather, I think that the games that we don't know specifically the games, but you look at their schedule, it's like, oh, there's a Washington game. Oh, there's a Philly game. Like there's games against non-divisional opponents that I'm sure they'll, travel well, and Eagle fans will be there at SoFi Stadium against the Chargers. But why do that against a divisional opponent? Instead, let's go to Brazil and let's let it play out on a neutral field.
Indeed, that's a reputable report. In Front Office Sports, I will take it to the bank, and good on them. And how do we not have more people digging into things and actually reporting on this? I would think maybe, people with some loose lips there, maybe down in Brazil, providing for the source on this. That's fantastic. Are you kidding me? Thursday night, Cowboys, Eagles. Friday night, Chiefs, Chargers.
Now think about this and what it might mean for the rest of the Week 1 schedule. Will they go heavy with divisional games in Week 1? Now, by rule, they go all divisional games for the final week of the year. But when you have now 2 games, reportedly, well, one we know for sure and one that we'll find out tomorrow morning, as divisional games to start the season on Thursday and Friday night, basically now you've guaranteed that you can't flex the second Eagles-Cowboys game or the second Chargers-Chiefs game into prime time, because by rule, the networks that are affiliated with each conference, CBS with the AFC, Fox with the NFC, they will get those games. So if that's how it starts, if it is indeed going to be Chiefs-Chargers on Friday night, then you know for sure CBS will get the other Chargers-Chiefs game, and you know for sure that Fox will also get the second Eagles-Cowboys game. And they won't be flexed. They can't be flexed.
I think the NFL, let's make this the best year ever. This is the way to start it off. You're putting your crown jewel, the Dallas Cowboys, in terms of bringing in a rating.
Sure.
Or you could argue the Chiefs now are that team. So night 1, night 2, and then how do you follow that up with Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football? Another thing that kind of came out here. Tell me if I'm reading anything into this. This is Matt Beauvais, always Game Day in Buffalo, where he's giving his predictions. He has this nugget, and I think he's onto something. There will be a primetime game or two, this is regards to the Bills, that will sound strange when it's announced, but that's about getting the other team in prime time. Okay, so what is he saying here? Bills at Jets again? Bills at Falcons? Bills anybody is going to draw a number.
Denver.
And Carolina.
Sure.
You could put anybody.
Right. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. And what was it? Week 2 last year was the first Thursday night game on Prime from Miami, right?
But it's funny how far we've come in a year, Danger, because that felt like, okay, this is a measuring stick for us, the Miami Dolphins. This was the coach that put the clock at 25 past the hour, representing the 25 years they hadn't won a playoff game, the sense of urgency. And, my gosh, the Jets and the Dolphins have slid back.
Yeah, they feel unserious.
That the Jets this time last year, you had somebody from ESPN picking them to win the Super Bowl. So Jets Bills on a Monday night in October, that felt like okay, are the Jets ready for this? By the time we got to it, it's like, okay. And granted, it was a close game, whatever. The Bills won that. Bills didn't have any problems in Miami. So that would feel a little more icky to me if you got one of those two matchups on a Monday night.
Yeah, I think I expect that, actually. I expect a divisional game against the Jets, against Miami. Miami probably more so than the Jets. Feels like the rivalry is a little bit stronger with Miami. Or maybe it is the Patriots. Maybe the Patriots are, they're interesting. And the Diggs thing is something that will get some eyeballs, right? Oh, he played all those years in Buffalo, and now he's in New England. It feels removed for us, but I think it's still a storyline.
I would put that on Monday Night Football in November.
Patriots, Bills?
Patriots, Bills, and Diggs is healthy, and are the Patriots ready? Because you figured they're not going to go away quietly. You're not winning the division. My gosh, when did the Bills win the division last year? November 1st?
It was
exaggerating a little bit, but
Week 5, they won the division.
so.
So more scheduling morsels here in the coming days. Little leaks. The faucet is dripping a little bit, but when we get to Wednesday, by Wednesday night, of course, we'll have all of it, and we'll react to it all on Thursday afternoon after we have that full release. Just little breadcrumbs scattered here and there for us to kind of connect some dots and see if we can come up with some idea of who's playing who and when. And Josh Allen now Wednesday on Today's show. Not today. He wasn't on today, but Wednesday he'll be on the Today.
So is that the Today Show jumping the gun on there saying he was going to be on today, or is that just the producer that screwed up?
Yeah. I wonder if they wanted, if the intention was to have him on today, but it was too last minute. Maybe you push him back a couple days. Oh, we can make that announcement then.
Probably they're just zooming him in, right? He's not at the Today Show studios.
No, I think he's there. I think he's I think he's there. I think he's in New York City. I think he's part of the spectacle. I absolutely think he's there. Zoom. No, nobody wants to do Zoom anymore. We'll get to Brian Koziel, WGR. He is also the host of Tee to Green. We'll talk about this weekend's PJ Championship. Oh, by the way, we've got a major this weekend on top of everything else. You can join us anytime this afternoon. Pull up a stool in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. 866-4FAN is the number. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
Northbrook, Illinois.
You know how you always want to know about everyone else's money? On the podcast What We Spend, guests will, for 1 week, tell us everything they spend their money on.
My son slammed $6 worth of blueberries in 5 minutes.
And everything that makes them feel.
I want to own a house. I want to have a child. But this morning, I really wanted a coffee.
Because at the end of the day, money is always about more than your balance. Listen to and follow What We Spend, an Odyssey original podcast. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
The NFL opening night will be Cowboys at Eagles on NBC, opening Thursday night. As far as the Buffalo Bills, Steve Tasker has a schedule wish.
I'd like an opening day, first weekend of the season, Sunday, 1 o'clock in the stadium.
Oh, you want a 1 o'clocker?
I want it to be, one of those games. I'd like a couple of those. And I'd like as many home games in the front part of the schedule as you can get.
We'll talk some Bills football next hour with Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com here in the Sports Bar. Tonight, it's Game 4. Knicks and Celtics at Madison Square Garden. New York is up 2-1. The Wings, they're off tonight. They open a series at home tomorrow against Norfolk. All the action in the majors on the lights tonight. The Mets hosting the Pirates. The Yankees in Seattle. It's Game 4 tonight. Carolina taking on Washington. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Here, our next guest, hosting Tee to Green in the free-to-download Odyssey app or our Odyssey Sports sister station, WGR in Buffalo. And during hockey season, of course, you hear him as part of the Sabres radio network. He is a pride. Sonny Brockport. Our guy, Brian Koziel, stopping by the Sports Bar as we prepare for the second major of the 2025 season. It's the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow this weekend, Brian. And I'm going to go ahead and ask the question that I know Gino is dying to know. When do we get an announcement about 2033? When is Oak Hill going to be back on the schedule for the PGA Championship?
Man, it seems like we've been talking about this now for, 3 years in a row since it's been there?
Yeah, keep asking the question.
I know, and usually this is the week that they announce a couple of future sites. They did not last year. I did speak with a PGA pro. His name's Tim Freeze, who he's the owner at Glen Oak. He's the PGA pro there. He also is part of the Northeast section of the PGA of America, and he's told me that he thinks that maybe some of the delay is that the television contract with ESPN and CBS expires before some of these future dates are set to go, and they're not quite sure maybe what the media landscape's going to look like at that point, and they're wondering if that could affect somehow these future sites. I didn't totally see the connection itself, but maybe that there would be some sort of actually PGA of America channel at some point. I don't know where he was kind of going with it, but I was intrigued, and we talked about it for a little bit, but no announcement as of today, obviously. They may announce something, who knows, in the next day or two. But, yes, 2033 still sitting there, the 10-year increments that we've had with Oak Hill with 03 and 13 and 23. We're all hoping here as Western New Yorkers that it lands us back to that year, but still nothing yet, and fingers crossed that maybe we'll get it soon.
Does this have anything to do, Brian? I don't even know if you're aware that Oak Hill's got this lawsuit. Somebody's alleging, bad workplace culture, and we'll let the legal place. Would that spook the PGA in any such way? A lawsuit like this?
I hope not. I think that ultimately, in the end, they probably factor in three things. First of all, is it going to be a money-making venture for them, which we know ultimately is their most important thing. Like, we would love to make it think that it's not, but I think obviously that's the most important thing. Are they going to make money off of it? Secondly, can they feel that the venue can still host all of the things that they need to incorporate this into making it a big-time event? And that means corporate hospitalities, pro shops, multiple merchandise tents, all the things that television, media compound, all these things that need to go into it. Can Oak Hill still host that in a good capacity where it's not logistically becoming a nightmare for people to get around and for the tournament to be held in a smooth fashion. And that's a piece too. And then, of course, the third thing is the course. And there's no doubt about it that Oak Hill checks all of those boxes. In fact, after the recent renovation, it obviously held the 23 championship, and it went very, very smoothly, and players had nothing but rave reviews. The only negative we thought going in was would weather be an issue, and it turned out in the case to really not be a factor. So I got to think that maybe there's other things that line here that ultimately wouldn't be even at Oak Hill's, presence to be able to do something about. Can they get corporate sponsorship better elsewhere? That's the only thing I can really be thinking about. I think the Northeast courses, even Tony Finau this week, I know it has nothing to do this past week's Truist Championship has nothing to do with a future PGA Championship, but he talked about how great Philadelphia Cricket Club was, and he said, we don't play enough Northeast courses, and all the PGA players say they need more events in the Northeast. So if that was whatever that weight that carried, which probably isn't much, at least the players would say they love playing the Northeast tracks, including Oak Hill.
Brian, let me just go back and circle back to some of the things you were saying, because we're very close to it and we're very provincial, and we can't fathom the idea that people would go to the PGA tournament at Oak Hill, the PGA Championship at Oak Hill, and leave with anything but a great feeling. Was there any ill comment of Oak Hill after this last? I mean, we're close to it, like I said, but it felt like the tournament was as close to flawless as you can get. There was a lot of transportation back and forth. Is that a tough thing to overcome, the shuttling? I mean, imagine that's every tournament that's just the way to get around when you're talking about getting from A to B and shuttling patrons and fans in and out of the tournament.
I did not hear anything negative other than minor blips here and there about that stuff. The build out on the course, I know that up by the clubhouse, up near that 14T, 1T area and 13 green, it can get very tight. I know that they would love a better way to move spectators and caddies and players and equipment and all the personnel around in that area. I can't imagine that ultimately that a congested spot on the course is the reason that ultimately they would choose not to come back, especially with what the history that Oak Hill has. And you know what? If that ultimately is like a sticking point, I'm sure those at Oak Hill would be like, look, we're going to come up with a solution for you here, whether it's moving a tee box up or back in order to make sure that that's not the reason that ultimately you don't bring another major championship event to Oak Hill and to Western New York.
Yeah, Brian Koziel, our guest, invited him on to talk about this week, the PGA Championship coming up. And Brian, we've been following along. Like, can you imagine this was here? No fans allowed at Quail Hollow today because the weather was so bad with the rain and the thunder. And I'm looking at the forecast: Tuesday rain, Wednesday rain, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oh my gosh! I mean, hopefully, certainly that could change. But your thoughts on that, and what kind of course is Quail Hollow located in Charlotte here?
So the weather obviously is going to make things soft if it is going to rain all week, and they'll have the course ready. I doubt it's going to get to the point where we're looking at storms that it's going to be unplayable, but it's going to be soft. And what does that do? Well, it favors the longer hitters. It also keeps the longer hitters' drives that might get a little errant a greater chance of staying in the fairway because it is softer, so you're going to get less roll, less bounce. Advantage Rory McIlroy, advantage Bryson DeChambeau, guys like that. And if you're talking about advantages to McIlroy, he doesn't need any more at this course. He's won 4 times. This is a regular PGA Tour stop. Last week's Truist Championship, it was moved to Philadelphia at the Philadelphia Cricket Club because it normally is being played at Quail Hollow. A long time it was known, if you know the events, the Wells Fargo Championship for many, many years. It changed sponsorships this year to the Truist Championship. So maybe that's why people are a little less familiar with it. And it was always at Quail Hollow, where McIlroy has won 4 times and has the course record with a 61 and has played in 20 events with 10 top 10. So he's done an amazing job, including the 2017 PGA Championship, where he had a high finish too. So if there's anybody that you could say there's a horse for a course, plus, oh, by the way, you need to hit it long off the tee because it might be soft, there's another box in McIlroy's favor.
What about Sepp Straka, who just won that Truist that we're talking about? Talk about his game so far this year and whether or not that might help him here come this weekend at Quail Hollow.
Yeah, he's the only other player that has won this year on the PGA Tour besides McIlroy. European Tour player, obviously, but he's had a really, really nice season here so far. He's got 2 wins this year, 4 overall in his career, and his world ranking continues to move up now. He's currently up to 17th, so moving up, playing really well. He's going to be a thorn in the side, I think, for USA fans for the Ryder Cup this year. But he's a guy that I think is really steady. I was impressed with his game yesterday when he was going toe-to-toe with Shane Lowry. That shot out of the bunker on the final hole yesterday from over 200 yards to get himself up on the birdie to really give himself that chance to close out the victory. That shows that you can handle pressure in a moment when you really fundamentally have to be sound. Like, his mechanics did not break down. When you're in a bunker and you're from outside 200 yards, like, this isn't a pitching wedge here. And I believe it was 214 that was the yardage that he hit in from. That was pretty impressive. So not only was he able to play well over 4 days, but when it counted and he had to come up with a big-time shot in adverse conditions there in a fairway bunker on the last hole, he came through. So this is the guy that, you could see having another good week. His confidence, obviously, I'm sure is as high as it's ever been while he's been a professional.
Justin Thomas, last time the PGA Championship was at Quail Hollow, he won. So your thoughts on Thomas? That would be unique, right? Like, if somebody won it the same tournament, just at the same location, and then trying to go back-to-back here, Xander Schauffele. So there are certainly going to be a lot of talented guys out there. Your thoughts on those 2 guys and maybe some other guys we should keep tabs on?
Yeah, out of the 2 that you mentioned, I would probably argue stronger for Thomas in terms of maybe who has the chance of having a better result. He's had a much better career. Not only did he finally get his win slump streak ended a few weeks ago at the RBC Heritage, but second this week at the Truist, he tied with Lowry, second at the Valspar, second at the American Express, and 2 other top 10s at big-time tournaments, at the Phoenix Open, at the Genesis Invitational, at Torrey Pines. So he's had a really, really good year there. That's 5 top 10s and a win. So he's really turned his game around from, I think, really being inconsistent. Remember 2 years ago, he was left out of the playoffs. He was the top 70, went out of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and he was 71. He's turned his game around. I think if he doesn't accumulate enough Ryder Cup points, which I'm sure he will be to the automatic 6, I think he's a shoo-in for a captain pick. Schauffele has battled injuries. He missed almost all of the golf from when it started in Hawaii all the way to pre-Masters because of an injury. So he has not gotten back to really getting going to where he was last year, where he won 2 majors. Clearly, though, we know he has the talent. Clearly now he knows how to win a major. For those 2 that you brought up, though, I'd give Thomas, in terms of if I'm picking one or the other, the edge in that category.
Brian, it's great having you on with us. Looking forward to a great weekend of golf at Quail Hollow. Let our audience know about Tee to Green, where we can get more of your work here as we continue the golf season.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Tee to Green Saturdays, every Saturday, 7 a.m. on WGR 550 in Buffalo or on the Odyssey app, wherever you're listening today. We'd love to have you listen. We go 2 hours on Majors weekend, so we're from 7 to 9 this weekend. And for those that maybe know the area, we're going to be in Youngstown, right on Lake Ontario, at Niagara Frontier Golf Club, doing our show on site there this week.
Fantastic. Brian, appreciate the work, and let's do this again maybe after what we hope is a good PGA Championship. Thanks so much for your time today.
Looking forward to it. Let's hope we get that Oak Hill announcement this week.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Come
let's do
on.
it.
Brian Koziel, WGR, Tee to Green. From his mouth to God's ears. Let's go. What are we waiting for, guys?
All right, let me ask you the question, because we really haven't dove into it, because civil suits, always kind of a funky thing, right? Somebody's alleging hostile work environment. And there's another thing that's, about members going against other members. Okay, let's just say there's noise around Oak Hill. Does that impact the PGA? I'm thinking no. I'm thinking the number one reason why they wouldn't come back, well, I guess this is like a 1A or 1B. Weather, or, hey, we could put this somewhere else, and our high rollers would rather be going to this city rather than Rochester.
Correct. Number 2, the second option is the thing. That maybe that's the insecurity in the person who lives in Rochester speaking.
it was so wild. All the jets coming in, the fact that you had airlines like there, for example, there's a direct from Dallas to Rochester that week. Like that's how
Lodging.
I would think our town is easy to get around, and the course is easy to get in and out of. Now, if you're coming for, I don't know what people look for in a major tournament, but I would think that, hey, you want to get together with the guys, or you want to bring clients. They have chalets there, Danger. Like
sure.
Like I would think it's relatively easy, unless our competition are the Bethpage Blacks of the world.
Well, are we viewing? We're viewing it through the lens of a spectator, just a traditional spectator. Maybe we are ill-equipped to view it through the lens that really matters, which is the wealthy of the wealthiest of the wealthy that want to attend the PGA Championship or spend their Sundays in that chalet that you're talking about. How's it for them to get in and out? Because I don't think they're hanging with the peasantry the way we are.
No, and I think one thing that's in our favor are the volunteers. I don't know, like on these other stops, if there's never a question where people will donate the 4 to 6 hours or whatever it is to work, whatever concession stand or, whatever is needed in exchange for the ability to walk around the grounds. Like that is a huge savings cutting off the labor there. And if you put that downstate, are you going to have volunteers, or you put it like that? I mean, there are things that work in our favor too here, and I don't want to sell it short. And if you really love golf, the history of golf, well, then Oak Hill's got to be in the regular rotation, right?
Think so. Let's get that announcement. Maybe it's this weekend.
Yeah. And
it's awful quiet, but maybe.
13. Funny how you mentioned that. It never kind of dawned on me, but yeah, it gets clogged up there. And if you're trying to get a golfer through, but did anybody really complain about that?
Well, again, fans didn't complain about it. Maybe they did, but even if they did, I don't think that would be. If the golfers are complaining about it, then that's a different thing. Oh, we can't go back there. Love the course, too congested. Love the course, don't want to mingle with the fans. Love the course, it's a distraction. Whatever. Like I would hear a player saying that because, to Brian's point, it does get pretty full around there, and we were there the opening rounds, and I was like, "Whoa, this is kind of." Full, it's congested. It's a little bit of a slow go. And then we did have weather on that Saturday, which kind of, I imagine, slowed it up even more before Sunday became beautiful. The weather is the weather. I mean, you could have like what we had this weekend, and I think we would all be okay with that because it was glorious and sunny and 60 to 70 degrees. You could also have what they're going to have in Charlotte this week, which is rain and, kind of miserable conditions.
The idea that anybody who bought a practice round ticket today wasn't allowed on the grounds in Charlotte at Quail Hollow.
It's a bummer.
And tomorrow, 96% chance of rain with thunderstorms tomorrow. That doesn't look any better. So I don't know when these guys are going to get their practice swings in.
A couple of other things that went on this weekend, and there's a player who in the NFL who is looking for an extension, new contract extension. Yet it seems like his team is less than willing to hear him. I'm not talking about James Cook and the Buffalo Bills, by the way. Another player.
No, we see like the Bills side of the argument with Cook, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that and I'm not saying Cook shouldn't be making the request. You're an NFL player. You got to get the money when you can, okay? We can agree that there are two sides to this. For this other team that you're mentioning, what is the management up to here? Or do they just want to alienate everybody? Is that the whole idea?
Right. I'll explain. We're going to get to that here coming up next. And I know, Gene, you were actually glued to another sort of competition that occurred this weekend.
Not really. Not really. Yeah, how did this go so crazy? Like, we have our Kardashians in sports now.
Mm-hmm.
This is like nothing to do with any competition, but yet it's dominating the news cycle. And now I'm becoming a hater. I just got to admit that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get into that. We have time for your calls as well. Quick break here, and we're back with more next at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
The free Odyssey app. Download it today and follow the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
So I have a quote from a star NFL player that I wanted to read, because when you hear a guy, this goes to me. It goes beyond just angling for a new deal. I'm not only angling for a new deal, but these guys are treating me with such disdain and disrespect.
Well, it's one thing where the Bills are kind of telling you what. It's not a never with James Cook, but unless he comes down, it's going to be a no. And it's been more than public, but at least Brandon Beane isn't hiding from it, pretending like, no, you're under contract. We're not going to talk to you. This one's a little different here.
The quote is, "No communication has taken place between my camp and the organization post-draft. The offers prior to the draft did not reflect the vision we shared and were promised last offseason if I continue to play at a high level. Coaches are aware of these past conversations. Rather than using collaboration to get us to a point to bring me home to the team, they," all caps, "are no longer communicating. I have been eagerly awaiting a resolution of this situation, but that's hard to do when there's no discussion and an evident lack of interest in reaching mutual goals," said Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals on his contract situation with the team. Normally, Gino, I would try to view this from both sides and be objective, but Hendrickson has such a case here. I really don't know that the Bengals know what he actually means to that defense. The last 2 seasons, Hendrickson had 35 sacks. Next closest on the team, a total over 2 seasons, 8 sacks, Hubbard. 162 pressures the last 2 seasons by Trey Hendrickson. The next closest, 74 from Hill. The Bengals are the Bengals, Gino. They just keep showing it over and over again. You had one Super Bowl appearance which acted like a deodorant. This is still a dysfunctional organization. They don't know how to manage their talent, and they don't deserve a player like Hendrickson.
It's the same manager who basically kind of hinted that, with the deal, okay, relocation isn't off the table, right? Same family.
Right.
Yeah, who would do such a thing here? Trey Hendrickson contract, he's got to be looking at what his counterpart in the division did in Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett, 2 years left. I want to trade. Oh, no, we're going to renegotiate. And this is a little different here. Trey Hendrickson right now, Danger, he's in the last year of his deal. His base salary is $15.8. That is a ridiculous bargain that the Bengals are getting. So if you want to play this game of, okay, well, then we're going to tag you next year, that's not the way to do business. That doesn't inspire other top athletes to come join your team, even though you have a top 5 quarterback in this league in Joe Burrow. I'll go ahead and say it. Brandon, make the call. No, I mean, you could say the Bills have enough on the defensive line. Hendrickson's going to be 32, we should point out.
Yeah.
And
I guess if I'm trying to be objective, that would be the one hang-up I would have if I'm the Bengals. Yeah, you've been productive, but do you still have that for the next 3 seasons?
But it feels different than T.J. Watt, who's of that same age. And T.J. Watt is the same thing. We're I want a new contract too. It's okay, easy there. And we all kind of said, no, I don't want any part of that. But this feels different with Hendrickson. Feels more like he's a late bloomer here. If you will.
I would take either of those guys for the Bills pass rush. You don't have somebody like that who can be an absolute disruptor, at least somebody that we see at a regular basis that can be an absolute disruptor the way Hendrickson or T.J. Watt can be. I would love that. Make that call. If it's something you can get done, get done. My guess is the Bengals, being the Bengals, would probably ask for too much, and if it's too rich for your blood, then don't do that. But yeah, that just seeing that quote, it's wow, he's not just upset. I mean, he's dragging the team through the mud. They're not communicating. They are no longer communicating. Wow.
And let me correct myself. He's only 30. He's going to be 31 in December.
Yeah. Can you get him for another 3 years? Can you get high volume out of him for another 3 seasons?
Well, that's the way
I think you probably can.
That's the way the Bengals have to look at this. Joe Burrow this time last year was talking about his football mortality. Joe Burrow, and then he came out and had his best year yet. This doesn't go on forever, folks. Like, you're the Bengals. You got to go for this now, particularly with the Steelers being down, the Browns not knowing what they're doing at quarterback. Yes, the Ravens are good.
The Bengals, though, investing, look, structure your team how you want to structure your team, but paying 2 wide receivers over $20 million doesn't seem like the best roster construction or fund management in terms of navigating that salary cap. Maybe their goal is we're just going to score more points and defense doesn't matter. You know, if that's their plan going into the season, their defense was terrible last year. Good luck. You're not a playoff team.
You know what I'm not a fan of? Well, many things. I'm going to tell you one thing I'm not a fan of. So-called influencers. They demand the news cycle, and they're pretty people. You know what they really do? What do they do? Do they entertain us? Do they make us money? I'm talking about the Kardashians of the world.
Fun to look at.
Paris Hilton, those types. Paris Hilton maybe not relevant in 2025, but those are the examples I'm giving you. Now, the next thing we're on to happens to be this 23-year-old Jordan Hudson competing in the Miss Maine, and there was her 73-year-old boyfriend looking all creepy in the audience, right? This isn't a take about Hudson, though. It's a take about the creepy old man. Remember, what happened to do your job? What happened to...
No days off! No days off!
Yeah, it's BS, Bill. You're full of it. No days off. You think you're going to waltz into North Carolina and magically, poof, this team is going to be in the NCAA playoff? Forget it. I never liked Bill Belichick, the Patriots head coach. But I respected him. Now I don't like him and I don't respect him.
How do we know he's not taking any days off? Probably is going to work every single day. Maybe multiple times a day.
Pablo Torre is doubling down on his reporting, speculating that it's not a given that Bill Belichick will be on the sidelines week 1. The school may come to a buyout. I think that's a little over the top. But
really?
Yeah, that's the latest from today. I go back to the Torrey report, and North Carolina just comes out with a statement saying, no, she's allowed in the facility.
She's not an employee.
Right. The statement should have, or there shouldn't have been, number one, no statement, just saying, no, that's ridiculous. Or coming out like a house of fire saying, no, this is absolutely not true. People are digging where there isn't anything. So there is something there with North Carolina. There is something there with the family digging into the history and the dealings of Jordan Hudson. And how did Bill Belichick... My argument is now falling here, Danger, where I said he's the greatest all-time. You're like, no, it's not. It's Bill Walsh. And I'm like, look at the rings for Bill Belichick. How did this guy tarnish his legacy in a matter of 9 months here?
I'm gonna try to reserve judgment until we actually start to see some ball. Like, we don't know what North Carolina is going to look like this year with him as the head coach, with everything that he's installing. If he wins, that'll be a deodorant. We'll kind of forget. I think we'll forget about a lot of this stuff and just be like, oh, Bill Belichick. We forgot what this guy does. We forgot that this guy won for many, many years as the head coach of the Patriots. But as time has gone away from those titles, we realize, oh, he's mortal. Yeah. And not only is he mortal, he's dating a 24-year-old, and maybe that's a distraction, or maybe it's exactly what he needs. When we start to see the games, then I think we could be like, well, if they lose, we're okay, really, Belichick? Really? Not only have you not won anything in a long time now, but you've got this 24-year-old controlling your personal brand. And I'm going to try to be less judgmental about her. I know a lot of people are going after her big time. There's a part of what she's doing that I kind of think, like, she's like this girl boss. She's like taking control of this guy's personal brand.
She's a Kardashian. Like, I'm going to take advantage. How did the Kardashians, it all comes back to OJ. It always does.
Juice.
Right. How did they, they took something that was horrible and we're going to make it a positive and I'm going to sell you shoes or whatever else.
That's right.
Like, that's going to be the next step for Jordan Hudson, right?
Reality TV. We'll see Jordan Hudson on Celebrity Big Brother in
Something like
5,
that,
10 years.
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Real Housewives of Charlotte, North Carolina.
I'm
I'm sorry, that's not where North Carolina. Chapel Hill.
Oh, man. We'll get to Ryan Talbot covering the Bills for NewYorkUpstate.com, the Shout Podcast. He's stopping by here in less than a half an hour. We have time for your calls at 866-4FAN if you want to pull up a stool in the sports bar. More next on The Fan.
You're listening to WNIBF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
NFL announcing opening night. It's going to be the Cowboys at Philadelphia on that opening Thursday. Still no schedule leaks concerning the Buffalo Bills. Chris Brown today on One Bills Live has his wish.
Since we are both convinced that the Bills are probably going to be playing on Christmas Day, on my wish list is to put that game at night. I want the Bills in prime time on Christmas. That's on my wish list. If we're going to play on Christmas, let's just play at night.
At home.
At home.
I'm okay with that for an 8:20 kick.
Yeah.
We will talk some Bills football later this hour with our friend Ryan Talbot, the Shout Podcast, and NewYorkUpstate.com. Game 4, Knicks Celtics tonight at Madison Square Garden. New York is up 2-1. Rochester Red Wings will be wearing the lilac uniforms this week. Norfolk coming to town tomorrow night. All the action in the majors under the lights tonight. The Mets hosting the Pirates. The Yankees begin a series in Seattle. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It'll be Eagles-Cowboys on the opening Thursday night of the coming season. The NFL made that announcement this morning ahead of Wednesday night's full schedule reveal.
Mike Danger.
Who do you want to see the Bills playing?
Kansas City. Gene Battaglia.
If I said something ludicrous, what would your response be? Mike Danger, are you an alien?
Not the last time I checked. That is not true.
Amerks Laval. Tune in for Game 1 Wednesday at 7:05.
Giannis is now open to considering a change, but has not made an actual decision on his future with the Bucks.
Fear that, dear. It's not the failure.
With the first pick.
Draft lottery tonight. We're going to find out who's getting Cooper Flag.
PGA Championship this week.
The Panthers top the Leafs. This series is tied 2 games apiece.
He scores! Mikko Rantanen! The legend grows!
Oh, I'll chime in.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Less than 20 minutes away from Ryan Talbot, we'll talk some Buffalo Bills rookie minicamp this last weekend. Ryan covering the team for the Syracuse Post-Standard, NewYorkUpstate.com. Welcome back into the Sports Bar. We're glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can hear us sounding our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. We're trying our best to look our best on our YouTube channel. We stream live every afternoon from 3 until 6. Feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment there, put a little wind in the sails. We always appreciate that. Tell a friend as well. And we keep the pirate ship afloat here at the Fan Rochester.
It's funny when the first couple days when this thing was looking at you and like all self-conscious, and then you forget about it after a while. You're just like, okay, suppose that's everywhere. It has a camera right now. The NFL is great at controlling their story, their news cycle. Like, that's why we don't have many leaks to tell you about the Buffalo Bills. That's why when the playoffs are happening, it's strictly the playoffs. We're not getting ahead to free agency. Now, let's compare that to another sport here, where I think right now on the court, it's been fantastic. I think you have great stories what's happening in Indiana. I think you have a doozy of a series, Denver and OKC. Does Golden State have enough? And then you have really kind of the crown jewel, right? Here's New York. Can they finally get by this next step? Oh, it's the defending champion Celtics. Tune in tonight. But the problem is, Danger, that's not your lead story in the NBA today. Should not be happening where agents already looking ahead, or is this just kind of a human nature thing that taking over the news cycle in the NBA today, we're not discussing what might be happening on the court tonight. We're not discussing what happened over the weekend. We're discussing where Giannis will be playing next year.
Gross. We have a draft lottery tonight too, right?
That we do.
All right, so yeah, I'm interested to see where Cooper Flag ends up. I'm more interested in that than I am in Giannis.
There's one team that, if he landed there, Philadelphia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. They were like, they didn't even make the postseason.
Yep. That would make things interesting, wouldn't it? The Giannis story, while it might be a lead, and I know a lot of people will view that and be like, oh my God, where could he go? Where could he play? I don't think it matters. No heart. I don't want that guy. I don't want that guy on my team. If you told me, if I'm a Bulls guy, the Bulls are in on Giannis. So maybe we'll be a playoff team and not a play-in tournament, not a play-in team. Okay, great. We're not winning anything. I still don't understand. Well, I guess I get it. I mean, when the Bucks won that title, Giannis, a part of that big celebration, But then the following year to get bounced by an 8 seed, his true colors come out, and he just kind of like, yeah. Well.
Can we look back at when Giannis actually won that the NBA was just a cycle where every other franchise was like in a dip? So the year before, you can't even say the year before, the previous championship was won by the Lakers. And
the bubble.
That satiated them.
The asterisk.
Yeah, you got like a lollipop for that, right?
Yeah.
It's a candy ring there you got. And then out east, you remember who they beat Brooklyn. Brooklyn actually made it to okay, does that really count? I guess it did. And then in the final, the Bucks beat Phoenix, where Phoenix was fun. They were young, but Chris Paul was already running out of, by that point they won in 6, so there wasn't they were the beneficiary of some good timing there. I think Milwaukee, the championship.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to take away a title. You'll always be able to say he's a champion. Giannis will always be able to say I'm an NBA champion. The player, for somebody as menacing as he could be, he just doesn't appear to have that killer instinct that I think the greats have. And so while it might be intriguing to think of Giannis playing for the Lakers or your favorite team, keep him away from my team. I don't want him.
There's one team that has to do anything and everything to get him. That's Dallas. After Dallas botched the whole Luka thing, all right, you need somebody to build around and people to get excited about. And
this is the NBA, though. I mean, really, he's gonna dictate terms as to where he goes. Does not feel like that. I mean, this is just one of those underlying kind of things that bothers you about the NBA, right? I mean, you can talk about load management, but I'm like, because LeBron set the standard the way he did and put together a super team and put together a trio and dictated where he wants to go and who he wants to play. That's just not really my thing.
Well, I think that not from a Giannis standpoint, but from a Milwaukee standpoint, you got your championship. Is this group really going to get you another? Even in the lesser of the two conferences, I'm going to guess no.
No.
Yeah.
No question. We got a bit of scheduling information from the NFL today. We didn't get Josh Allen on the Today Show today.
He's going on Wednesday. That is now confirmed. Wednesday. But why? That's what I want to know. What is he there to promote? Well, they can't tell you that.
Yeah. Well, the NFL and NBC both announced today that there is a primetime game coming Saturday, December 27th that will be streamed exclusively on Peacock. Could that be the announcement?
Like they'll give NBC another day sure. Like they're paying for the money there to stream this exclusively. Would you rather have the Bills here in Rochester? You would have to go to Peacock or go out somewhere or listen to the radio that night. Or would you rather have them on Christmas Day? I heard Brownie and Tasker, you heard in the sports update, they're speculating that the game would be on Christmas Day. They really don't know. They don't have that insight. But the 27th, I think I would rather have it as a standalone on Saturday night. And why that makes sense, Danger, then you put you can't have the final regular season game at Highmark in Week 18. You could, but you want to make it a big deal, right? You want it to mean something. So who could that be? Week 17, Saturday night, the 27th. Feels like a divisional game to me. Maybe that's the game the Patriots come in. Maybe you bring the Dolphins up.
Yeah, I would take either of those. I think that would be, and if you want to, close the chapter of the regular season at Highmark Stadium in prime time at the end of the season, Week 17, December 27th, I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. I'm still holding out hope that it's the Bills on Sunday Night Football, that it's the Bills Week 1 Sunday night. I know it won't be the Chiefs, at least we believe. We'll find out tomorrow for sure after the report that the Chiefs will actually be in Brazil to take on the Chargers for that Friday night Week 1 matchup. I'm actually kind of holding out hope that the Bills, and maybe it is the Ravens, or maybe it is the Bengals, that Sunday night game would be a lot of fun at Highmark Stadium.
So Sunday Night Football, let's not look at this through the teams, but if you're NBC, you want a quarterback right out of the gate. I don't think San Francisco with Brock Purdy. I'm thinking of teams that might pull a number, but you want quarterbacks and like that's what will get people to tune in at least right at
Josh
the
Allen, Lamar Jackson is a good matchup. I know I was pro Chiefs and I wanted the Chiefs week 1. It appears like that's not going to be the case, but number 2 on that list was the Ravens. I know the Bengals. If you get the Bengals early in the season, better than getting them later in the season.
Well, here's the problem, and this is like the Bills' schedule. Like, okay, say it's the Bengals. Everybody here would nod. Like, yeah, Cincinnati. They always start out slow. Yeah, let's get the season started. Okay, tell me where you're going to fit these home games in later in the year. Buffalo hosting Baltimore. Buffalo hosting the AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. Buffalo hosting the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. This schedule danger, and we'll all make our predictions, right? Oh, this team is going to be 10-7. This team will be 12-5. John from Rochester will say 17-0.
Of course.
That's why we love the schedule in part, because until you actually see it lay out, but they would have to kind of spread that out. You couldn't, or could you? Like coming after that week 1, would you get the Eagles then week 2? I would hope they would give the Bills at least some W's at the outset.
You think about their schedule last year, and they had that murderer's row right in the middle of the season, right?
Well, now you look at it and you're like, what's that murderer's row? The Jets? Ooh.
Right. Yeah.
Houston, well, they lost that game.
Actually, later in the season is when it turned out to be like a little bit of a tougher stretch there with the Chiefs, the Niners, the Rams, the Lions, even though the Niners were a bit of a cream puff. But like you had some tougher opponents as the season wore on. We all remember that Ravens matchup week 4 last year did not go the Bills' way. But I kind of like the tough stretch. Give me a little bit of a tough stretch there for any team. It's a measuring stick, Gino. I want to see how do we fare against, you were able to tell pretty early in the season, like, okay, the Bills are good. Then they go to Baltimore, they get whooped. And you're like, oh. And they were able to make adjustments based off of that loss. They didn't quite regroup next week.
In my mind, what was the number one adjustment? Knock it off with the trick plays. Like, how many trick plays did you see the Bills actually try, execute from it? Like, they're good enough just to kind of beat you with standard stuff. That's what kind of swung the game, in my opinion.
Back to the Brazil game. We'll get confirmation tomorrow morning, but it's been reported that the Chargers will host the Chiefs, air quotes, in Brazil. So a divisional round game that Friday night in Brazil. So the Chargers have the ability with the schedule makers to protect certain opponents for home games, and they chose not to do it with the Chiefs, where the Chiefs, should they come to SoFi, usually it's a sea of red. They take over the Chargers' home stadium. I don't blame them. If that's the case and they go to Brazil and they start week 1 with a divisional matchup on a Friday night, I think that's fun.
Well, this is indicative of where the NFL is headed, Danger. And I know some people won't like this, but when we first started out with the London stuff, it was like 2-3 games a year, and it's Jacksonville hosting Cleveland or whoever. I'm just making that up. How many years did we have games being exported where at least one of the two teams had a losing record? I know it wasn't until recently you had two teams, like a big deal. Now you're getting the Eagles and Packers to start the season in Brazil like they did last year. You're getting the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and like, this is what the NFL is doing. No one gets the, hey, we're good, we're not going over there. No, everybody's got to do it.
And by the way, to bring it back to your original point about the NFL controlling their messaging, like, this is what it looks like when everybody is aligned and everybody is on board. Like, there could be people that put up a stink and be like, no, why would we want to start the season in Brazil with a divisional game? Or you could say, big picture, this is great for growing the game the way the NFL needs to grow the game beyond the borders of the United States to make more money for all of us billionaire alien owners.
It's funny. Like, you would think you would get more players bitching about things or whatever, but it is really made clear, like, this is a job, and this is where you're going for your job here in this particular week.
It's a business trip.
It's a business trip, exactly.
Mhm.
But Brazil, that's not an easy lift either, going all the way down there. But just wait, what year is it? It's next year where the Rams are going over to Australia, right? That's going to be, how do you pull that off?
And if the Chiefs are getting Friday night in Brazil, odds are high, then I would say that they're getting the Monday night week 2. They'll probably do a doubleheader Monday night week 2, and they'll be one of those games. And the Chargers probably wouldn't be. I would imagine maybe the Chargers are a Sunday night game to give them a little extra rest.
Yeah, I would think then the Chiefs would be home then. Like, you wouldn't be like sending them all the way back to Kansas City and then putting them on a plane there a few days after that. So yeah, that would fit danger that you're going to give them the little extra time there. Look, and part of this too, I think it's a little icky. Yeah, they can't have that Friday night game in the United States because there is that rule, law, whatever it is, that, hey, because of high school football, you can't be doing this. But since it's outside the borders,
go nuts.
That's a go nuts. Should I go down and see my local high school team tonight? No, I'm going to watch Kansas City.
Yeah.
And
Great job. Let's get to Ryan Talbot, New York Upstate, and we'll talk more Buffalo Bills. We'll talk more schedule as we're just a couple days away from the NFL officially releasing its schedule. Josh Allen on the Today Show Wednesday. Let's go ahead and start to speculate what he might be announcing as far as the schedule is concerned coming up here Wednesday morning. Ryan Talbot joining us next with his report on Bills rookie minicamp as well here on The Fan.
MVP.
Tonight, expect a low of 57 with partly cloudy skies.
Weather brought to you by Staples. Your local Staples store has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. Save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
We did get one announcement today from the NFL as far as a game. Cowboys-Eagles will be on that opening Thursday night. Still no leaks concerning the Buffalo Bills. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live has his schedule wish.
I'd like an opening day, first weekend of the season, Sunday, 1 o'clock in the stadium.
Oh, you want a 1 o'clocker?
I want it to be, one of those games. I'd like a couple of those. And I'd like as many home games in the front part of the schedule as you can get.
Don't hold your breath, Steve. We'll talk some Bills football later with Ryan Talbot. He joins us next year in the Sports Bar. Shop podcast at NewYorkUpstate.com. Game 4, Knicks Celtics tonight at Madison Square Garden. New York is up 2-1. Wings will be wearing the lilac uniforms this week against Norfolk. That begins tomorrow night. Mets tonight hosting the Pirates. Yankees are in Seattle. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
NFL fully releasing its schedule coming up on Wednesday night. We're getting some breadcrumbs here and there, and to speculate about the Bills' schedule, talk about Bills' rookie minicamp as well. We always get excited to welcome in Ryan Talbot from NewYorkUpstate.com, the Shout podcast. No Josh Allen this morning on the Today Show, Ryan. We'll have him Wednesday morning on the Today Show. Do you believe that that's an announcement for Week 1 primetime game, or potentially maybe that standalone Week 17 Peacock game that maybe the Bills will be hosting one of those two primetime affairs?
Yeah, I mean, both of those make sense. If I were to guess, I would say they're probably going to kick off the Sunday Night Football schedule. I think that would make a lot of sense. With today being just the NFL kickoff game, which obviously involves the Super Bowl champion Eagles, and the Bills weren't on that slate to travel to Philadelphia. So, you knew that wasn't going to be the case, but there was a lot of speculation that Allen was going to appear today. I think on Wednesday, though, he makes that announcement. My prediction is Sunday Night Football. And I don't know who they would necessarily host in that game, but I think that'll be a home match.
No, I also forgot, too, that late season game, that Week 17 game, because it's primetime, allows for the NFL to flex into that game. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like this primetime matchup between the Bills. Is it like they can flex whatever they want into that spot?
They could, but they announced the Chargers-Bills way back when. I remember that was one of those, and they never flexed out of it. But Ryan, honestly, I'm looking at all the options here for the Buffalo Bills. If they are going to open Week 1, give me Cincinnati, just knowing that they start off a little slow and you got to get them right off the bat. But if I had to pick a favorite, I would think, a rematch of last year's divisional game, a game where, let's face it, have Mark Andrews holds on to that. Who knows which way that game goes? What about the MVP from last year against the MVP from 2 years ago, Baltimore against Buffalo?
Yeah, that would be a huge get, but I think that the Bengals game makes a ton of sense too. Burrow, the star power on that team, the fact that they have been a little bit of a thorn in the side of the Bills in past years. Get them in here early for a big primetime matchup. I think the Bills would love that. As you pointed out, this is a Bengals team that has started slow the past 2-3 seasons, 0-2 starts. And if the Bills could get them in Week 1, I don't think they would necessarily object to that.
We're going to get to rookie minicamp with Ryan Talbot, NewYorkUpstate.com, joining us now in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Ryan, I just saw this little nugget as well from over the weekend. The James Cook appearing at a celebrity poker event didn't really rule out or didn't conform one way or to the other to his availability here heading into the preseason. We know what Brandon Beane is saying about the potential of James Cook staying in Buffalo beyond this season, although we don't feel like it's likely that an extension is going to come anytime soon. Do you think Cook shows up for the mandatory portion of the offseason? Do you think he shows up training camp? What's your sense of how this plays out for the Bills' star running back?
Definitely anticipate him being there for training camp. Mandatory mini camp, we'll see. That could be his way of making a statement or making a point for himself. But those fines would tally up pretty quickly for him. And if $5 million is a ton of money, don't get me wrong, but with fines, the way the NFL runs things, he'd go through that money very quickly. So I don't think he can necessarily hold out very long. I anticipate him being there at training camp and playing this season, whether, and then trying to show that Buffalo or another team for that matter should be paying him big money when the time comes next year.
Ryan Talbot, our guest here, as rookie minicamp wrapping up for over the weekend. Ryan, my take on rookie minicamp, it's more kind of a visual thing. Like, hey, football's coming, and here's these guys you just saw drafted, and here's what they look like in Bill's practice gear. And it's hard to kind of draw any conclusions, just from the opening days in May, but it does get you excited about some things. Let's start at the corner position. Like, how an extreme makeover is this going to be, knowing that you could have three of these draftees perhaps on the opening day roster?
Yeah, I anticipate all three being on that opening day roster, and I think by the end of the season, all of them could have some kind of concrete role. Obviously, Hairston starting at one cornerback position opposite Benford. And you look down that list there too. Dorian Strong is such a good fit in this defense. I'm not predicting a Kyer Elam, Christian Benford type of situation, but I love the depth that he brings to that cornerback room. And I know they have Trey White and Dane Jackson. I think Strong could really push for a depth role sooner rather than later. And then Jordan Hancock, where the Bills decide to play him, we'll see. I know that Brandon Beane, after the draft, so we're going to put him at safety first, but he has the flexibility to be that backup nickel behind Taron Johnson to play on the outside. So you have to love the position versatility. I think all three are going to factor into this season in some way, shape, or form, obviously with Hairston playing the biggest role.
Ryan, what was your impression of the size of some of these rookies coming in? Because, I think the first time we all saw Greg Rousseau suit up for the Buffalo Bills, we said, oh, he looks different. He's just a bigger dude. And it sure seems like with TJ Sanders, you have somebody more of that mold with that size, that length, and then a bigger body like a Deion Walker there on the interior of the defensive line.
Yeah, Walker looks as big as advertised, both height and weight-wise. Sanders obviously being more of the three-tech, but still a massive man. And even Jackson Hawes, you have to be impressed with the size of Hawes and the physicality that he brings to the table. The fact that they moved on from Quentin Morris, who still sits out there in free agency, and you factor in the injuries that both Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid have dealt with in past years, I think Hawes could carve out a role, mind you, probably a small one as a rookie, but especially being on the field when the Bills want to run the ball. That physicality you can't teach. And, Dawson Knox has come a long way in his blocking, but he is still not necessarily a plus blocker. We know Kincaid, that's a weakness of his game. I could see Hawes playing a big role here, too, for his physicality and blocking ability.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it still is Dalton Kincaid's job here. Like, as far as players that are coming back here and kind of steering away a little bit from the rookies here, Ryan, but just kind of staying with the tight ends, is that the veteran we're all looking to take the jump? Because you could say it's Coleman, but in my opinion, you have other guys in that receiving core. But the promise of Dalton Kincaid, that promise hasn't exactly been delivered yet here in Western New York.
No, but it is 100% Dalton Kincaid who needs to take that next step this year for this offense to evolve and become more dangerous. It'd be great if Keon Coleman took that second-year leap, but as you pointed out, it's not necessarily needed with Joshua Palmer being added into the equation with what you get from Khalil Shakir. You want as many weapons at the wide receiver position as possible, but Dalton Kincaid was supposed to be this chess piece that was going to be difficult for defenses to deal with. Some compared him to Travis Kelce, which that's just not a fair comparison for anybody, but to be this pass-catching weapon for this offense. And he dealt with a very serious injury last year. You can't ignore that. But he needs to rebound from that and show that he can be that weapon, because that's what Josh Allen needs to really open up this offense.
Ryan Talbot covering the Bills for NewYorkUpstate.com, our guest in the Sports Bar Danger and Battaglia on the Fan, Rochester. Ryan, earlier today, Tasker and Brownie on One Bills Live were having a conversation about the schedule release, and they were talking about their schedule wishes for the Buffalo Bills. Do you have a schedule wish? We talked about the potential of Week 1 or maybe a late season primetime game in Week 17. Is there one specific?
I kind of give mine no Christmas. I'm fine with that. Ryan, what would be your schedule wish?
Yeah, mine would be actually along the lines of Steve Tasker. I'm a sucker for those 1 p.m. kickoff games. Now that the Bills are so good and you end up getting 5 primetime games usually, it feels like every year, and throws everything out of whack. The 1:30 a.m. podcast times, the late night newsers, all that. So I'm definitely right there with those 1 p.m. kickoffs. Yeah, I'm not against the Christmas Day one either. It's always nice to be able to just spend time with family on Christmas Day and not have to worry about maybe covering a game. But I could certainly see that being one of the big games for Christmas Day with the way they promoted it last year, getting the Chiefs in one of the games. Now you probably want to get Buffalo with the reigning MVP in one of them as well. So I'm kind of almost anticipating and expecting it at this point.
So we had a piece of Bills-related news because we look back at Gabe Davis, and he had one of the best games in Bills playoff history, an NFL playoff history. We're just judging by 4 touchdowns, but there he is on the street. The news today is visiting the 49ers. We'll see if anything comes of that. Ryan, are you where do you come down on Gabe Davis? Would you want him back in Western New York?
You know, I don't necessarily think I would want him back just based on the fact that room looks pretty full right now. They just added Elijah Moore, who I think has a lot of juice to his game and hasn't had the opportunity to play with a very good quarterback. Davis is a good locker room guy. He can block fairly decently. He has his moments. I mean, he was a big play receiver, averaging over 16 yards per catch in his time with Buffalo, but the inconsistency and you would disappear for some games, the drops, the issues with that. I just don't know if there's necessarily a carved out role for him. Now, if he wants to come in that minimum type deal or close to that and compete for one of those bottom wide receiver jobs, sure. Josh Allen loves him. He's loved in that locker room by the front office, but I think he's going to try to carve out a place or a spot where he can have a much bigger role.
Ryan, while we don't know exactly when the Bills will play their opponents, we do know the opponents, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on when you think the Bills should take on some of these opponents. We already discussed how the Bengals would be nice earlier in the season. It feels like they're a team that gets off to a slow start. It's not necessarily who you play, but when you play them, do you anticipate the Chiefs mid-season like we've seen the last few years? What about the Eagles, the Ravens? I mean, there's a couple of big-time opponents coming up on this schedule. Yeah,
I think you're going to see the Chiefs game usually around that middle, late end of the season portion, that CBS slot at 4:25 game of the week. Networks always try to protect certain games, and I could certainly see that one always being the protected game for the networks, knowing how the games go down to the wire. They're always instant classics, both regular season and postseason, it feels like. Baltimore is another one that always feels like it should be prime time. That hasn't always been the case in previous years, but last year was. I could see that one being another one, too. Super Bowl champion Eagles, absolutely. And then looking at their road schedule, I could see Atlanta being maybe a primetime game. The young team on the rise, young quarterback there. But there's going to be probably 5 when all is said and done. You could even throw Tampa Bay at home in the mix with the Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen draft class storyline.
Yeah, Ryan, there's another thing we all look, digesting the schedule when it comes out Wednesday night is where's the bye? And I think the Bills last few years, they've caught a break here where the bye has come late, and I'm a big fan of that, actually. You're like, hey, you get to there, and now we're going to come back and go for the final push here, and I'm just wondering if it's going to be the same way again, because to me that's a great advantage as opposed to having the bye, say, in week 5 or 6 in mid-October.
Yeah, I would hope that the Bills maybe can request or push for a mid-season, late-season bye week, and the league can try to accommodate that. With all the international games going on, I'm sure the league will try to make the teams in those games maybe have an earlier bye, depending on when they play. But if you're Buffalo, you want to stay right where it's been at, because get healthy for the home stretch, get right for some important regular season games where if you're a Bills fan or if you're a Bills player, you're trying to push for that number 1 seed in the conference.
Ryan, not necessarily a Bills story, but certainly something of interest when you hear the rift that's happening between Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals. And for all the talk that we did earlier this offseason about Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, there remains this player who's been extremely impactful for his defense that is at a bit what appears to be some sort of an impasse for getting an extension. Brandon Beane should pick up the phone, should he not?
Ideally, yes. I just don't know if the Bills could move around enough cap to make that happen, knowing full well, too, you'd have to extend him over that $40 million a year threshold. I think they're hoping and banking on Bosa staying healthy, which is a big if based on the last 3 seasons. Expecting maybe a little bit of a second-year leap from Solomon, Rousseau to continue his progression. Epinesa, they know what they have in him. It's nothing flashy, but he usually ends up with that 6 to 8 sack range, usually around 6, closer to that side. So I think they're content with it. In an ideal world where there's no salary cap, you pick up the phone, you're making that deal. He's going to maybe put you over the top, but throw in Hoyt, too, when you consider him coming off of a 4-game suspension. They're going to count on him a lot, and then obviously Landon Jackson in the draft. I just don't think there's room for him. Some team's going to get very lucky at the Bengals, going cheap at that position, and they're going to get a great pass rusher.
Yeah, or they just, it'll become a tacky, awkward situation when training camp comes. Who knows how that'll play out? I guess if it's not Hendrickson, if it's not the defensive line, because honestly, the Bills have Brandon Beane has shown, hey, I'm going to bring in guys. Go back a couple years ago where you had the defensive end Leonard Floyd come in, and he was very productive for the Buffalo Bills. That didn't happen until June, Ryan. So as far as a position where if you're looking for Brandon Beane to add, I don't know who that might be, but what position right now could you say, yes, I think the Bills could use a little more in terms of competition right now?
Yeah, I think linebacker would make a lot of sense. That's one position that they didn't address in the draft. You're expecting Ulofoshio to take a big step, Andreessen to take a big step in terms of those depth roles behind what you have. You have Matt Milano on the final year of his deal, and there's some injury concerns there, obviously. Terrell Bernard has been dinged up at times. So I could see them adding a veteran linebacker into the mix. Last year was Deion Jones. I could see there being someone sitting out there on the market that they bring in for training camp and see if they could push some of these young guys at least for a depth role.
Yeah, there are some names still out there. Are there any names that you have circled at linebacker that are still out there and available, Ryan?
Not necessarily off the top of my head, but I just think that's a position too. And they like Dorian Williams too. I mean, I think they really do like their top 3. They believe in the youth that they have there in Andreessen and Ulofoshio, but that's still, you're banking on a lot there. I just think that's the one position. They always look to add more O-line as well, but they have a ton of talent there too. So I don't necessarily think they go that route, but that's another position I would maybe pencil in.
All right, so you've got Tyler Matakevich. He's out there. I'm just going over the list.
I was just looking at
Von Miller technically is a linebacker. So yeah,
C.J. Mosley, Eric Kendricks. I mean, the veteran guys that are still out there as free agents. But then you got to talk about fit. And as we know with the Bills, it always feels like there needs to be some sort of a connection to McDermott and either his time in Carolina or his early years in Buffalo.
Yeah. I mean, that usually does help out a little bit, or with some of the assistant coaches. But you mentioned a few veterans out there like Hendricks. I could see them being interested in kicking the tires on a guy like that. But time will tell there. But yeah, that's the one position where there's some uncertainty in terms of their depth.
Yeah, we're talking to Ryan Talbot, New York Upstate. Shaq Thompson is another one. Well, there you go, Danger. He's been with Carolina the whole time. 2015 came in as a draft. What round was he? He was a first rounder. All right, so Sean McDermott's last draft in Buffalo, their first-round pick. Ryan, you heard it here first.
Shaq
Thompson. But just make sure you source the sports bar on the news there.
Hey, you got it.
Ryan, what are you and Matt working on? We could check out this week here. Also, not only on NewYorkUpstate.com, but the Shout podcast.
Yeah, we'll obviously be tracking the schedule, leaks on Wednesday, anything that comes about Wednesday morning with Josh Allen's appearance. Obviously, you have Deanne Dawkins appearing on the schedule release show, so that tells you they're probably going to be promoting some big game there. So that's going to be on our horizon this week, and then we'll have a few Shout podcast episodes. I'm jumping on WKBW tonight to do some Bills talk, so always staying busy.
Appreciate the time as always, Ryan. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Hey, you too.
There he is, Ryan Talbot. NewYorkUpstate.com talks to Buffalo Bills here as we get ready for the NFL schedule release coming up on Wednesday.
Okay, so Shaq Thompson, first-round pick of Carolina in the year 2015.
That was McDermott's last year with Carolina.
Yep. Okay, everybody, pop quiz. Who did Shaq Thompson compete with for the starting outside linebacker position his rookie year in Carolina?
Thomas Davis?
Nope.
Oh, A.J. Klein.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Should have known that one. That's funny. Well, if that happens, he's nothing if not predictable if that happens. Appreciate Ryan sharing some of his thoughts here. There's a couple of different NFL media things happening too as well. We had the schedule release on Wednesday, but to see that ESPN remains in talks to purchase NFL Network, and then to find out that one of our shows here on the Fan Rochester, the Rich Eisen Show, is going to move to ESPN later on this year.
Right. So Rich Eisen himself is going to ESPN. So, like, you're bringing that up. Is it really a move, or is this a precursor to a merger that's coming up? Hard to kind of say, but I'm like, oh, I mean, I like that noon to 1 hour with Eisen on our station.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also out of ESPN, and man, it makes me feel old, but I can't even be angry at this.
No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Chris Berman got an extension at ESPN. He will be there for the network's 50th anniversary in 2029.
Well, that's more of a he'll do the Monday night thing, right? And then here are the highlights you already saw, but it's kind of a feel-good thing, where they record it on Sunday.
It's comfort food at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, would they ever put Chris Berman back on Home Run Derby? Well, the answer is probably no, because remember, like, ESPN's backing off altogether on baseball, so I don't know if we'll ever get Berman, but Berman was calling some playoff baseball on the radio too, so I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah,
he'll
be 70 this year. 70. Started at ESPN in 79. He was part of the launch. He's 24 years old when he started, and this new extension ensures that he's going to be a part of ESPN's Super Bowl broadcast, which is in 2027. So he will be with the network there for their 50th anniversary in 2029.
It's funny, like the first, one of the first stand-ups he ever does, he is on the field at Candlestick Park for the 1981 NFC Championship.
The catch.
Yeah, and he's right there, and it's a young Berman, and people are going crazy behind. And
it was absolutely, and guys, a legend. Don't want to take anything away from him. I know that his routine might be a little bit old, and some viewers have no idea, but like prime time with Berman and Tom Jackson was must-see TV before the internet became the internet and gave us everything all the time.
That was one where if your game was bad in the 4 o'clock window, okay, then I'm going to go over, make sure I'm not missing this at 7 o'clock, because it was the one place where you got all the highlights and you got actually the score updates. And the thing about Berman, too, is like, we first started the show, I would, goof on him and goof on his stick. And then he lost his wife. It's like, no, I'm not gonna do that anymore.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
I'm with you. I never like the broadcaster who turns it. I want you to be entertaining, but I also feel like now you're just doing it for yourself. Like you're not really doing it to entertain. It's more self-serving. But I don't really get that with Berman anymore. I just think that that's who he is. He's going to deliver it his way, and that's the way it's going to be.
He's such a founding father that he was one of the first guys in SportsCenter. They're making it up as they go along. So the story was happened at some midnight SportsCenter, and he starts making up names for the players. Okay, who's watching anyway? Okay, Frank Tanana was a pitcher back in the day. Frank Tanana Daiquiri, ha ha ha. And he come up with all these nicknames, and then all of a sudden became this little cottage industry.
Yeah.
And so, it kind of stuck there. And, I mean, how many people stay in any one place 5 years, much
amazing.
less 10, 15?
Amazing run. So he's there, and will be a part of the big celebration as ESPN turns 50 in 2029.
I want Shaq Thompson on the Buffalo Bills, by the way.
You're going to will that to happen, aren't you?
Well, he also played big nickel last year for Carolina, so he has kind of evolved as a positional player and versatility.
Yeah, I know, but at this point, that's a favor, right? If they sign him late in free agency, it's like, okay, here's another favor.
Is it though? It's like at this point, it's like
unpopular opinion. I think the Bills like to do favors for their guys. Unpopular opinion.
Well, if they did, Von Miller would be on this team. Or is Von Miller not signed anywhere because he's going the Aaron Rodgers route? Have we seen the last of Von Miller? Is he going to show up somewhere? I think he shows up somewhere in mid-August and he ended up in Baltimore. I mean, just get ready for that.
You said Aaron Rodgers. We hit our quota for the day. You don't think he could make an announcement like 7:45 Eastern time Wednesday night, right?
Anytime between.
We got to come back with Happy Hour next. We'll talk a little bit more about what we did learn in the NFL schedule today. We got that Thursday night kickoff game, and maybe it appears we know who's going to be playing the Brazil game. There's been multiple reports that have leaked that matchup as well.
Schefter, it appears that we have our Brazil game.
We'll get to that and your calls. 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports. Streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
So we do have one NFL schedule morsel. Learned about it today. The Cowboys and Eagles on the opening Thursday night. Still no leaks concerning the Buffalo Bills. Chris Brown on One Bills Live does have a wish, though.
Since we are both convinced that the Bills are probably going to be playing on Christmas Day, on my wish list is to put that game at night. I want the Bills in prime time on Christmas. That's on my wish list. If we're going to play on Christmas, let's just play at night.
At home.
At home.
I'm okay with that for an 8:20 kick.
Yeah.
Game 4, Knicks Celtics tonight at MSG. The Knicks up 2-1 in the best of 7. Rochester Red Wings open a series at home against Durham tomorrow night. The Wings will be wearing those special lilac uniforms. All the action in the majors under the lights tonight, including Paul Skeens, the Pirates taking on the Mets. Yankees in Seattle. The Red Sox are in Detroit. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
It'll be Eagles-Cowboys on the opening Thursday night of the coming season. The NFL made that announcement this morning ahead of Wednesday night's full schedule reveal.
Mike Danger.
Who do you want to see the Bills playing?
Kansas City. Gene Battaglia.
If I said something ludicrous, what would your response be? Mike Danger, are you an alien?
Not the last time I checked. That is not true.
Amerks Laval. Tune in for Game 1 Wednesday at 7:05.
Giannis is now open to considering a change, but has not made an actual decision on his future with the Bucks.
Fear that, dear.
He's not the failure.
With the first pick. The draft lottery tonight, we're going to find out who's getting Cooper Flag.
PGA Championship this week.
The Panthers top the Leafs. This series is tied 2 games apiece.
He scores! Mikko Rantanen! The legend grows!
Oh, I'll chime in.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
It's happy hour in the sports bar. Happy hour in the Flower City. Gino, I'll say this. It's a bad night to be a pitcher of beer and some buffalo wings because your boy's going to get after it while we're watching the Knicks and the Celtics, getting together with some buddies, having some good times tonight. Hope that you're enjoying the day. It feels like spring is actually here, that we may be beyond fake spring at this point. Glorious weekend. Lots of action to react to and lots of fun stuff coming up this week, including the NFL schedule release on Wednesday.
I'm looking over the Saints roster. Is there anything the Buffalo Bills could go shopping for, try to pilfer? Like, this is a team that should be selling everything. Can I tell you, like, the Saints quarterback room right now? Tyler Shough, listed as the starter. Spencer Rattler, who was terrible last year, and some guy named Jake Haener.
Yeah. Everybody just hold.
Wow.
Everybody just hold a seat. Keep a seat warm for Arch, and Arch comes home to New Orleans in 2026.
There is one thing, and if we were doing this online like Matt Perino did, I don't want any AI or anything saying that Chris Olave, the Bills, are interested in. But he's going to be on an expiring contract. He's on a terrible team. By the time the Saints do draft a quarterback, do you want to pay him? Does that line up? I say no. Brandon, call the Saints. See if they move Olave.
I floated the idea of Hendrickson from the Bengals to the Bills when Ryan Talbot joined us last hour, and I kind of agree with Talbot, where it is, of course, you would say, pick up the phone and try to make your team better by adding a player, but you're still dealing with the salary cap, and you've committed to a lot of the guys that you already have. I mean, even guys that are suspended are still part of this roster, and you went out and got Hoyt, and you went out and got Ogunjobi, and you got Joey Bosa. And so while earlier in the offseason we were all foaming at the mouth, the opportunity of maybe getting a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby, those opportunities now feel like they're gone because you have to build a roster, because the Bills look like they've committed where they've committed.
We could debate in the story coming up today, because Trey Henderson putting out a statement and basically saying the Bengals, are not communicating.
Burying his team.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about James Cook being passive-aggressive on social media. How do you like a star player coming right out and saying, my team isn't communicating with me? We're nowhere near close.
See, this is the difference between a good manager and a bad. And I'm going to take, for example, Brandon Beam. You may not like the fact that they ignored the wide receiver position till the late rounds. That's a football kind of conversation. The one thing you cannot say about Brandon Beane, when is he not clear about things? When he's dealing with the media, when he's dealing with agents, and sometimes if it's a negotiation, he doesn't want you to know. Like there was hey, they came to an agreement. Who knew with Christian Benford? Brandon Beane, I would think, is very clear with player representation. Now, let's compare that to Cincinnati. This is your best player on defense by a mile, and you're treating him like this?
Unless their philosophy going into the season is we've got an offensive-minded head coach, we've got a top 5 quarterback, we've got 2 of the top 5 wide receivers in the league that we're paying for. We'll just outscore everybody in 2025.
That's fair, and that may be it, but be clear about it. You know what? We will not tag you. You will earn the right. We will let you play. Like that could be their philosophy, that maybe there's something they see and said, his best years are behind him. That's totally fair. We don't want to pay for past performance. But you got to communicate that to the player. Just to not pick up the phone or not in return the agent's calls. I mean, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, it's a sloppy situation there in Cincinnati with their star pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson, who basically just put his team on blast with a statement today.
But looking at the Saints, and there was a story from over the weekend. So Derek Carr announcing his retirement.
Normally, that's a big story.
Yeah.
Starting quarterback, guy that was a franchise quarterback for the Raiders, hanging it up. And he's still relatively young, right? I mean, he's not going to have the longevity in his career that some of his peers have had. But
no, look, it's the shoulder. Who knows? So they came to some mutual agreement, but that came out. When did that come out? Saturday morning? It came out at like an odd time where you would think that this has been going on for weeks, right? Like, okay, this is where this is headed. Why not give Derek Carr his day? And I guess today was the day after that where his kids came to the podium and everything else. But, I'm just looking at this. If you're the Saints and you really are in the New Orleans Saints, we're going to try to compete. Do they pick up the phone and say, you know what, Aaron? Not only we're going to give you 10, we'll give you 15, and we'll mark it up to 20 if you win some games.
Yes, but only if Aaron Rodgers is able to announce he's returning to the NFL at 7:59 p.m. Wednesday night, 1 minute before the official schedule release. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is waiting for the schedule release? Do you think he's waiting to see what Pittsburgh's schedule looks like?
I always want to go to Ireland. I never wanted to go over there. I'm not really good at doing an Aaron Rodgers. I just kind of very aloof. And
it'd be more of a visual thing. Like you have to have a mirror in front of you as you're talking. You're talking to the mirror.
Well, Diener, you say this. I'm smarter than you.
I'm sorry.
It's
right. Yeah. Smartest guy in the room. Smartest guy in the room. Everybody's just trying to tear you down, Aaron. Everybody. I mean, it's a conspiracy.
It's all about football. You're a radio show.
Yeah.
It should also all be about ratings.
Yeah.
Like anything that doesn't have to do with radio. What are you doing on your show?
I'm gonna say I still don't think he's signing with the Steelers. I don't know that I see that happening. Now, if the Saints wanted to say, here's $10 million, what do you think? Would Aaron Rodgers play for somebody other than the Steelers in 2025? Because the Saints need a quarterback.
Well, has there been a quarterback room in the spring that has looked as disastrous as this one?
This is terrible.
This is it speaks of only one thing. We don't care about winning. And at what point do you get veterans on this team? If you don't care about winning, if we're not winning, likely I'm not going to get paid in my next contract. Where can I exit here?
You got rookie head coach in Kellen Moore, who, has probably been given the grace of at least one season. Like, yeah, this season is going to be tough. Or either that or, you're Kellen Moore, you're the quarterback whisperer, go to work.
Well, can I use my Jackson Dart analogy? Jackson Dart, the quarterback, where we watch a lot of SEC football, and I'm watching more and more college football, right? And never did I think, man, that's the best quarterback in the SEC. Never once. Never even thinking about him in the first round. Okay, you jumped into the first round. Good for you. Now I'm saying this. Never once did I ever say that's an NFL quarterback down in Louisville. Tyler Shuck. We didn't even know how to pronounce his name. Like when the Saints took a quarterback. Oh, it's not
Shador. They got to be tanking. That's, the quiet tank. But
this isn't quiet.
You want Arch Manning to come home. You want to revitalize a fan base and get them excited. That's the guy that does it. Even though I'm not going to say Arch Manning is the number 1 overall pick next year. I haven't seen enough of him to say that with any sort of definitive.
Even if it's not danger, like I trust the people who do this that say next year you can easily have top 4 picks going at quarterback. Right. It's going to be a great year to watch.
And if you're the Saints or the Rams or the Browns and you have enough ammunition to be mobile and flexible around the dread, like what's the difference with the Saints if Arch Manning is number 1 and you're picking in the top 5 because you had a disastrous season with Tyler Shuck as your quarterback, you can get up to number 1. You can get your Arch Manning if you so desire that, if he is the number 1 overall pick. I'm not going to go ahead and presume that because I just feel like we haven't seen enough of him as a college player yet. If he has an unbelievable season with Texas, then, yeah, of course that changes. But I'm not going to turn a blind eye to some of the other quarterback prospects that are going to come out next year.
They used to have a rule that every team had to appear in prime time. And that's how you ended up with gross games like the Jaguars and Titans on Thursday Night Football.
That rule doesn't exist anymore.
No, so the Saints should not be on prime time.
Yeah.
I know you got Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave, but let's be honest. Do you really want those players on your fantasy team?
You'll get a Saints-Falcons Thursday night prime game. Saints-Falcons. That rivalry is real. That's a real, New Orleans hates Atlanta. Atlanta hates New Orleans.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mike Danger now, regional brand manager who manages a station down in New Orleans. What's the station in New Orleans?
B97,
B97.
The top 40 radio station in New Orleans. I was speaking to a couple of staffers this weekend about this very topic, and they're like, we don't care if we win or lose. We're going to be drunk either way. I'm like, okay, that's a good attitude. That sounds very familiar to the drought-era Buffalo Bills fan base as well. Who cares? We're going to be drunk either way. But they did make it very clear. No, their rival is Atlanta. They don't like Atlanta.
Where does that come from? I don't know. There's
insecurity.
Yeah. We're the big city in the South and you're little New Orleans? Is that it?
Insecurity. I don't know. Talking about that schedule, we officially know week 1, the kickoff game in Philadelphia that Thursday night will be the Dallas Cowboys. Not a surprise.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's not into that? Crazy to think that they're putting that game in September, Danger. And you pointed this out, too, that, all right, well, then by doing that, they can't flex later on. Eagles at Dallas. Maybe we get Eagles Dallas on Thanksgiving. That's not considered a prime time.
The rule, I guess, is that the network that's affiliated with each conference is required to televise at least one of the 2 games in every division rivalry. So, as we know, CBS, AFC, NFC is Fox. So, Cowboys-Eagles will definitely get at least a Fox game.
That's your, what do they call it? The game, America's Game of the Week on a 425.
What's more interesting, and we'll get this confirmed tomorrow when they make the official announcement, the Brazil game that following day, that Friday, we knew the Chargers were going to be playing. It's been reported by Front Office Sports that the Chiefs are going to be their opponent in Brazil. Okay, now you've got not 1 but 2 division games back-to-back nights, and that guarantees that CBS will have the Chiefs and Chargers later in the season.
Welcome to the new world of the NFL, meaning these games that were going overseas, it was, we're just going to outsource them. All right, okay, you really want the Jaguars against the Bengals? Here you go. Have at it. The idea that you couldn't have 2 teams with winning records head-to-head, but then that all kind of changed last year, Danger, where you had the Eagles against the Packers and 2 decent quarterbacks. And now you're even taking it a step further. They're going to put a divisional game outside the borders on a Friday night in week 1.
Now, if I'm the Chargers, secretly, I'm okay with this. Because hosting the Chiefs at SoFi is, I imagine, not enjoyable for the Chargers.
Well, for that matter, the Raiders or who would the Chargers actually have a home field advantage for?
Anybody outside of the division, maybe, but even
Denver,
then,
no, right? It's a tough go. And hey, by the way, you did that to yourselves. That was the price you paid. So I don't feel just like how the Raiders, we're Raider Nation, really. Yeah, I see a lot of red up there when you're playing Kansas City. It doesn't seem to like the Raiders have become this kind of destination city, and the Chargers, they're second fiddle to the Rams, and the Rams are second fiddle to USC. All right, so the Chargers are pretty well down on the depth chart. They're only relevant because of their quarterback. So good on the NFL for figuring this out. Okay, the Chargers are actually a playoff team. The Chargers have Harbaugh. We got to put them in a spot where people can kind of pay attention to them. So again, who's not watching that opening Friday night?
For sure. I'm already seeing, by the way, people making their bold, preseason predictions, and I've seen a couple of people say the Chargers are going to win the AFC West.
When you said preseason, I'm like, really, you're gonna people are picking who the preseason?
No. I mean, who's going to win each division? This is the time of year especially when the schedule comes out later this week, that we'll have people saying, like it was this time last year, they'd be, the Jets, Aaron Rodgers, look out for the Jets. Look at the Jets schedule. That'll start to pick up some heat here, and I think. Based on when we last saw the Chiefs, I'm not willing to do this, but when we last saw the Chiefs, they were getting thoroughly demolished by the Eagles in the Super Bowl. The Chargers are going to be one of those teams that I think a very en vogue pick to win the AFC West.
Well, the way they play, it's a little counterculture to everything that's been kind of, it's going to be physical. Yeah. They drafted the running back.
It'll be very stylish to pick the Chargers because of Harbaugh and what he's instilling and quarterback and the run game and the Chargers. Okay, we'll see. They'll get their chance that Friday night with the Chiefs, reportedly going to Brazil.
Tell us about the Bills. Well, here's what we know about the Bills, where look, the Today Show did say, and coming up Monday, we'll talk to Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen. They did that as a tease. Was Josh
Did we half listen? We always say that, we'll say things in the sports bar, and people will come up to us and say, hey, you said this. And I'll be like, not what I said at all. You were half listening. This is exactly what I said.
This is something, Danger, that they teased. And then later on in the day, it's not confirmed, right? Well, now they're teasing it again for Wednesday. So Josh Allen isn't going on there. Question 1, how's your offseason? Oh, it's going great. What's the wedding plans like? Great. Excited for the schedule tonight? Yes. Thanks for coming on, Josh. No, he's there to promote something. The question is what? You got 2 options here, Danger, maybe a third. Option 1 is, hey, we told you what that Thursday night game is. Now we're gonna tell you, coming up on opening Sunday night, and to tell us, here's Buffalo quarterback Josh Allen. Okay, that could be it. Or along those same lines, hey, make sure you subscribe to Peacock. If you don't subscribe to Peacock, you're gonna be missing out. And to tell us more, here's Josh Allen. The Peacock game this year, just like it was 2 years ago when the Bills went to the Chargers, exclusively on the streaming device. Week 17, December 27th, which could be the last regular season home game in the history of Highmark Stadium. There's a lot there, a lot of juice for Buffalo. And when you heard Sal Capaccio mention this to us on Friday, that legitimately you had, don't automatically assume the Buffalo Bills are going to be coming in on Christmas Day. That standalone game on the 27th is a possibility. I'm starting to lean that direction. That, okay, we need to promote Peacock just as much as we're promoting here at opening night on Sunday.
Well, the third option I think is interesting, too, that Netflix is going to get games, right? They're the exclusive for Christmas.
Yeah, where are they promoting it?
Where are they promoting it? Why not promote it on NBC? Because, remind me, Netflix's crew, when they called the games, was like a mismatch of all the different networks. Like, they get their own guys. But if they needed a vehicle to promote it, Netflix could say to NBC, to the Today Show, and say, hey, we want to promote our package. The NFL has given us that opportunity to do so. Can we do it with Josh Allen since we want the Bills on Christmas night?
It was predominantly CBS guys, Danger. Iron Eagle, Nate Burleson, J.J. Watt for Chiefs Steelers, and then it was Noah Eagle, Greg Olsen, Fox. So you had Eagle and Eagle. Greg Olsen, I think, is totally underrated.
Noah Eagle also underrated.
Noah Eagle will be like the voice of everything
He'll
in
be
20
next.
years. Yeah,
He's got next. All right, so it could be one of those three things as far as Josh Allen Wednesday morning. Regardless, when we're on the air Wednesday, I believe we will have our first certifiable Buffalo Bills piece of scheduling information.
Yeah, that's well, I'm hoping we get something tomorrow. Now, tomorrow we should learn of the international games. Haven't really heard, okay, the Bills are going to Ireland or anything like that. We mentioned the Brazil game. That's a legit report. I do believe it's going to be Kansas City, but all the other games, I guess we'll find out here tomorrow. And the one report, I haven't seen that confirmed either, that they're going to keep the Vikings over there for a little 2-game road trip. That's also breaking new ground, Danger. And like, if you're a Viking fan, that's like, really, we're doing this where you're going to give up a couple games? Hey, somebody's got to kind of do the test run.
Well, what I think it is, Gino, is this is the NFL being in unison. This is alignment as an organization, the NFL. Whereas you maybe back in the day had an owner that would bitch or be upset that this was happening, or why would we do a divisional game in Brazil? And it's like, well, we're doing that because if we have success with two very good teams and we get more eyeballs on the product, we all make more money. Can you be in line? Can you step in line for that? I feel like maybe in the past you had some renegade owners or some rogue owners that maybe didn't want to buy into that idea, that notion, giving up a home game over, for an overseas game, but now realizing like, no, that's where the growth is. If we want to,
yeah, like I was going to say, it's not Star Trek where this is the final frontier. No, the NFL has multiple frontiers. I mean, this probably is the best one to make money in terms of growing the fan base around the world, and maybe one of these markets really sticks to the point where you'll have a franchise someday. The other one being flag football. There's plenty of frontiers here, like where the NFL. But those owner meetings, Danger, behind closed doors, it's not talking about the draft. It's not, okay, congratulations on winning the Super. I'm sure there's a little bit about that. How are we making money? And now, like if Washington gets their deal done, Chicago, Cleveland, who needs a palace? Like pretty much like all these teams in the NFL, Buffalo included, you're going to have your palace where you're making money. You need to find other ways because, I don't know, me or you, once you get to a number, I know once you get to your number, you're going to be like, hey, is Mike coming in today? No, he retired. Really? I thought he liked doing the show. No, his job.
Love doing the show. I don't know. You and I might be different in that I work to live. I feel like you live to work.
Somehow I got away with calling Fisher Lacrosse on Mother's Day, Danger.
Holy.
Going on the third round of the NCAA tournament, the women. Heading to Tufts.
They may never lose again.
No.
Holy. That's what I'm saying. Some people live to work. Some people work to live.
Well, that there was a trade-off. I did all the dishes, everything.
Okay. All right. That's good. So the executive producer hasn't kicked you out entirely.
Yeah. Someday, maybe.
Hope everybody enjoyed their Mother's Day weekend. It was glorious. It was epic. We've got a lot of action tonight to get to, not just in the NBA Finals, but also in the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll get to that and more. A round of shots.
Yeah, we got a draft lottery to tell you about. We got some other good stuff. And, hey, we're talking about the Today Show. Interesting interview coming up later this week on Good Morning America, where it's going to go. Oh, you saw this. Okay. Yeah. It's going to go one of two ways. And I'm pretty sure I know how this is going to go, but
same.
We got a route that it's going to go the other way.
That's right. We'll get to that. We've got a round of shots coming up. And don't forget about last call before we close up shop here on the Sports Bar. If you want to have the final word this afternoon, 866-4326 is our phone number. 585-866-4FAN.
Sports Update.
Couple more dates here as Fox has just announced Week 16 of the NFL doubleheader, which will have the Eagles at Washington, the Packers at the Bears. The Eagles, we know, opening up on Week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. Still no leaks, though, concerning the Buffalo Bills. Steve Tasker today on One Bills Live has his wish.
I'd like opening day, first weekend of the season, Sunday, 1 o'clock in the stadium.
Oh, you want a 1 o'clocker?
I want it to be, one of those games. I'd like a couple of those. And I'd like as many home games in the front part of the schedule as you can get.
Wouldn't we all, Steve? Rochester Red Wings open a series tonight at home against Durham. That's actually tomorrow night as they'll be wearing those lilac uniforms. Mets tonight hosting the Pirates. Paul Skeens on the mound. The Yankees are in Seattle. The Red Sox are in Detroit. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Epic victories, heartbreaking defeats. No matter your team, no matter your game, we talk sports. The Fan, Rochester.
Look at this. See college football releasing a few morsels as well as the NFL. Fox doing work today. Texas, Ohio State, Week 1 in college football. And then you just mentioned in your update there a couple of Week 16 matchups with the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Packers and the Bears. So little scheduling breadcrumbs being spread by the NFL.
See, I'm already starting to think, okay, Washington, Philadelphia. Ooh, that could be a lot of points. That's fantasy playoff.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right.
Boston Celtics tonight can regain the home court advantage in this series with a win in Game 4. Going back to the regular season, Boston now has won the last 5 at Madison Square Garden. Now, adding to the adversity for New York, what's going on with Karl Anthony Towns? Did he actually break his hand in Game 3? He appears to say, I broke it. When asked if he was going to get imaging, Towns would only say, I'll let the team tell you that. And, well, the team never did tell you anything. Spread looks tempting tonight, Danger. Boston laying just 6.5. 7:30 tip on ESPN, followed by Minnesota Golden State. The Timberwolves up 2-1.
It is my belief that the winner of tonight's game will represent the East in the NBA Finals.
Okay, 2 thoughts. 1, Boston, if they win tonight, they win the series. Can we agree?
The winner of tonight's game will represent the East in the NBA Finals.
Okay, yes. But I'm saying I'm not ready to say if the Knicks win, okay, up 3-1. No, I'm not doing that against the defending champs. Number 2, probably bigger, have you seen the Indiana Pacers?
Yeah. I'm going to stick to my guns on this one. Maybe I'm wrong, and you'll tell me if I am because nobody cares when you're right. The winner of tonight's game represents the East in the NBA Finals.
Tonight is the NBA Draft Lottery. The presumptive number 1 overall pick being Duke's Cooper Flagg. Now, the best odds, 3 teams have a 14% chance each to win. Utah, Washington, and Charlotte.
Ugh.
Yawn, yawn, and yawn. New Orleans at 12.5%. Philadelphia at 10.5%. Now, the Sixers don't pick in the top 6. That pick automatically goes over to Oklahoma City.
Okay. Where do we want Flagg to land?
Phoenix? 0.7% chance. It's the Spurs, actually.
0.7?
Yeah, it's Atlanta's pick, but it's owned by New Orleans. Or, excuse me, San Antonio.
New Orleans at 12.5%.
No.
I mean, they also had their number 1 overall pick from Duke. How's that working out? Is Zion feeling like Zion? Does he feel like he wants to show up for his team? Or is Zion, Zion loves the game. Is Zion's going to play when Zion's ready to play?
Has there been an NBA franchise that has never done anything like the Washington Wizards? Michael Jordan. What's the last relevant thing on the Washington Wizards? They had Bradley Beal for a hot minute do some things. John Wall did nothing.
Selfishly, I want Washington to win the lottery so we can maybe angle to get our guy on, to get Patsos on.
Yes.
Daddy needs a new pair of shoes.
By the way, mentioning Jordan, he's been hired by NBC to offer commentary for next season, which did that go great with Gretzky? Everybody's excited on Gretzky on TNT. And then,
That's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's a familiar face, and you have to pay attention when he's talking. I mean, can he pull it off? I'm not going to doubt Michael Jordan can pull it off. Is he going to be as good as Chuck? Impossible, but he'll be good.
Oh, my goodness. Giannis Antetokounmpo may be playing for a different team next year. This according to ESPN's Shams Charania. Antetokounmpo is open-minded about exploring what is best for him and his long-term fit. or if it's actually remaining in Milwaukee. His contract runs through the 2026-2027 season.
Yeah, this is kind of a zero to me. I know he's a star in the league. He's a star. He's a champion. He won a championship. But I just think the guy doesn't have that killer instinct.
He's one of the 10 best players in the league today.
He's a star.
It's going to be a big story.
Yeah.
If you're a team like Dallas that just totally botched this last sequence, you need something. You need a win like this. If you're Houston, where, hey, you have the second best record, we forgot about them.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You need something like that to put you over the top.
I want him to end up at one of those teams we were just talking about. Send him to Charlotte. Let's go. Give him to New Orleans.
Well, see, that's the problem, Danger. The NBA players kind of dictate where they want to go.
Right. That's the way it goes. Because I'm telling you, if I own the Milwaukee Bucks and I had Giannis saying, yeah, I don't really know, even though I'm under contract, I'm open to, okay, you want to go somewhere else? Let me show you how life is like playing for the New Orleans Pelicans. You want to go? Go. Have fun.
Giannis in Miami feels right.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Look, get ready. And this is my pet peeve. Like, we should be talking about Knicks Celtics. We should be talking about Golden State. What do they do without Curry? No, we're already on to the next thing.
Yeah.
We have 2 Game 4s tonight in the NHL. Both these on TNT. Carolina up 2-1 on Washington. The Canes hosting Game 4. Edmonton also home tonight with a chance to go up 3-0 on Vegas. Vegas winning Game 3 with 0.4 seconds remaining to pull within 2-1.
I would have loved to have seen it. I was out on Saturday night. It was on everywhere. But by the time that game was ending, we weren't really in a place to see that final 0.4 seconds. But and look at that. Florida has evened up that series as well. Max Domi doing Max Domi things, and you've got a little bit of now you've got more bad blood between those two. This is great. This is going to be a blast. We'll watch those tonight, and we'll have some thoughts tomorrow.
The first round of the AHL playoffs finished up yesterday.
Wow.
Hershey advancing.
Technically the second round. Right, because the first round is kind of like that weird play-in mini-series.
Do they call it? I guess we could just agree we're calling this the divisional final.
Yeah.
So either that's the second round or whatever the play-in. Hershey advancing, 2-time defending champs will face Charlotte in the Atlantic Division. I know. Shocking, right? These teams finish 1-2. The West semis will have Milwaukee against Texas, Colorado facing Abbotsford. The first second-round matchup of all these is actually going to start right here in the Flower City Wednesday night. Game 1 between the Emerks and the Vel. All 4 quarterfinal matchups in the American Hockey League features teams that won their division against the team that finished second in their division.
So you're saying that the AHL is a bit top-heavy with its talent right now.
A little chalky.
Got it.
After losing 21-0 to the Padres Saturday night.
Oh.
Right, let me back up here. Prior to this game, did you see this? The Rockies gave a vote of confidence to Bud Black, their manager.
Before 21-0?
And then they went out and lost 21-0.
And then the players said, no, we're not really feeling it.
Wait, was that by accident? Vote of confidence.
This is a AAA franchise we're talking about. This is not a Major League Baseball franchise.
The Colorado Rockies on Sunday firing Bud Black. Third base coach Warren Schaefer will serve as the interim manager for the rest of the season. And on Mother's Day, the Rockies actually won. They raised their record to 7-33. That's the worst 40-game start in the majors since that woeful 88 Baltimore Oriole team that started 0-21. They ended up at 6-34 after 40. The Colorado Rockies open a series tonight at Texas where the Rangers only minus 290 on the month.
Oh, what a bargain. That's an unserious Major League Baseball franchise. Let's relegate. Let's bring relegation to Major League Baseball. You can send the White Sox, and you can send the Rockies down. You can bring up a couple of teams.
And the Marlins.
Marlins, yeah.
Well, see, the problem with that is who would be getting relegated from AAA?
Who'd get moved up?
No.
Oh, who'd get relegated from AAA?
Down to
right
AA,
now it would be us.
Yeah.
That would be a sad scene.
Yeah.
That would be a sad scene.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I'm not gonna wish for that.
Finally, Michael Strahan on Good Morning America. Do you have an opinion on him? I don't watch. No, I've seen him on the Fox football show. Well, Strahan has an opportunity to step up. This Friday, he's going to go one-on-one with someone that has been in the news recently. one Bill Belichick. It's the first sit-down interview for the North Carolina coach since that disastrous one with the CBS This Morning crew. Will Strahan ask real questions? When Belichick mumbles, will Strahan press for an answer? Or danger, is it going to be softball city here?
So this is in publicity for his book, right? He's still on the tour. He's still, promoting his book. And I get the sense that it's going to be softball city, that it's just sticking to the beats of the book and talking. I don't think they're going to do what we all want them to do, which is ask questions about his girlfriend.
Well, what makes this okay? So I'm not clear on this, but I'm assuming this would be live. It's Good Morning America. You're not doing a pre-taped interview for Good Morning America. So unless there's some sort of contract that says you are going to ask this, I don't think ABC would ever agree to something like that. I think this is an opportunity for Strahan to ask some real questions here.
Yeah, but it's Michael Strahan. It's not Stephanopoulos.
No, Michael Strahan's gonna. Hey, I'm everybody's friend.
That's
I got
right.
the gap tooth.
He's not the guy that's going to stir it up. You want, you need somebody that's going to ask a tough question. I don't know that Strahan's got that in him as far as, a journalist or, CBS Morning News. Yeah, absolutely. They're going to ask him tough questions and they're going to, try to get to the root of some things to the point where it provokes the girlfriend to step up and try to cancel the interview.
Well, if you're ABC, you don't want the blowback to be, wow, that was really tough. Yeah, you're doing Belichick PR there. Good for you.
I'd be shocked if this is anything. This feels like a zero to me. It feels like it's just Belichick doing another interview, and it's going to be all softballs, and everything's going to be asked, the questions in advance, the whole thing.
Well, we beat you in the Super Bowl, Coach. Ha, ha, ha.
That's right.
Don't remind me of that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll get a little bit of charm because of the football relationship with Strahan, but nah, I'm not expecting there to be any kind of tough questions about his personal life or his relationship.
Can they at least pan to the side there? Will there be a young woman with her arms folded with a cross look on her face?
Like she just lost Miss Maine USA or something like that? Yeah, maybe. She didn't look happy in that picture. This still that was making the rounds of her in that pageant over the weekend.
No, it's the Leon Draisaitl look.
Yeah, why are you so pissy?
Why are you so pissy?
Yeah.
Why are you so pissy?
Well, she just lost Miss Maine USA. You have all the answers. Great stuff. All right, we got to take a break and come back. We got last call next at 866-4FAN. If you want to pull up a stool, 585-866-4326. The NFL giving us a couple more games in Week 16 to talk about. Also, a little college football action there as well. We'll get into that as we get one day closer to the NFL's official schedule release coming up here Wednesday night. More next on The Fan.
You're listening to The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
All right, so Fox, Gino, releasing that Week 16 doubleheader. Philly, Washington, Green Bay, Chicago. Out of those 4 teams, will they all be in playoff contention Week 16? You're not going to hurt my feelings if you say no.
I'm going to say yes.
I
Week
agree.
16, yeah. Week 16, you something would have to gone wrong.
Those teams, at minimum, will be farting around, right?
Yeah, barring injury to one of the quarterbacks, you're good on all those. If you had to put them in order, is Green Bay ahead of Washington? I'm saying no. I think it's Philly, Washington, Green Bay, and then your Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Do you know the name Xavier Bobador? No, you probably don't know that name.
I do. I do know that name.
Do you?
I know where you're going. I do know that name.
Okay.
I know that name because I remember this thirsty SOB as he was with his dork-nosed lawyer. Go ahead, Gene. This guy sucks.
Yes, he sucks for multiple reasons. First of all, he's a Chiefs fan, not just a fan, super fan, Chiefs-aholic.
He sucks.
Yeah, he was already serving 17 and a half years of a federal sentence for robbing banks, but the Tulsa County District's Attorney Office now tacked on 32 more years.
Good.
All to pay for his Chiefs addiction.
Yeah.
Or whatever it was.
Chiefs-aholic. Can't wait for the Hallmark movie on Chiefs-aholic. Are they doing? Did they greenlight that one?
In December 2022, Chiefs-aholic was stopped in Bixby, Oklahoma, pointed a gun at the teller, and fleeing with $150,000. Yeah. Hope that was worth it, bud.
He sucks. And remember, oh man, I wish I had it handy. His dorky lawyer and the statement that he read.
Oh, yeah. Just making him a hero.
Gross. It was all third person, Chiefs-aholic this, Chiefs-aholic that. And I'm like, ugh, I feel disgusted hearing this guy talk.
11 robberies, $800,000.
Well, he had an addiction, Gene. He was addicted to the Kansas City Chiefs more than anything. That was his identity.
No, and it felt like I had to mention the name Xavier Bobador. It's not Jay Binkley.
Fellows, let me tell you. You haven't lived until you've robbed a bank and gone to Arrowhead the next day. That's how we do things here in Kansas City. Thank you, Buffalo.
Thank you, Buffalo.
That guy sucks. Not Binkley. Chiefs-aholic.
Chiefs-aholic.
Rot. Just rot.
Sparks, Nevada, California, Tennessee.
These are all
the ones he's connected to.
Wow. Part of a bigger heist ring. Love a good heist, though. You give me a heist in a movie, I'm in. You know when they talk about re-releasing movies, they got to re-release Heat. That's the one I want to see in theaters. I never got the chance to see it in a theater. I need to see Heat in a theater with a heist, a massive heist.
I hate to say it, Ocean's 11's good.
Good.
Yeah, it's really good, the original.
I appreciate that one for sure. The original or the one with Clooney?
That one, okay, the original too, the one with Clooney. Even the sequel wasn't.
Not bad.
Not bad.
No, Ocean's 11 is still better. But yes, not bad. Great show today. Lots of fun. If you missed Ryan Talbot from NewYorkUpstate.com and the Shout Podcast, or Brian Koziel, the host of Tee to Green, find those conversations wherever you get your podcast. Search out the Sports Bar. On all your favorite platforms, you will find us there, including the free-to-download Odyssey app. We're back tomorrow with Matt Perino, Amerks head coach Mike Leone, and more. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger.